Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. Routine proceedings. Introduction of bills. Committee reports. Tabling of reports. The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Speaker, I'm pleased to table the following annual reports for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025 for Efficiency Manitoba, with the supplement report for 24-25 and the Clean Environment Commission annual report for the year 2024-2025.
Ministerial statements. Member statements. The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to recognize one of my constituents, Marcia Fabio, a survivor of lump node cancer and breast cancer. Her journey began last November when she found a lump. Shortly after, her husband found another under her arm. From that moment, Marcia's life changed forever. Urgent scan, blood work, biopsy, confirmed what no one wanted to hear. Marcia would have to fight for her life through chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation. Marcia's journey was long and difficult. Phase 1 was 8 rounds of chemotherapy. It wasn't easy, but Marcia stayed strong. She believed in herself and her fight. Phase 2 was surgery, the most painful part, physically and emotionally, but with love and support around her, Marcia kept going. Phase 3 was radiation, which just completed last month. On her last day of the treatment, Marcia rang the bell. I can only imagine that it was a day full of tears of joy, celebration, and relief. 2 weeks ago, on October 3rd, Marcia received the words she fought hard to hear. She is cancer-free. Her fight is not completely over. For the next 5 years, Marcia will continue with hormone therapy to prevent her cancer from returning, but today she can proudly call herself a survivor. Marcia reminds us about the importance of awareness, community, and believing in herself. I ask my colleague to join me in recognizing Marcia Fabio, a survivor, an advocate, and ultimately an inspiration to all of us. Honourable Speaker, I would like the names of my guests to be entered into the Hansard. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Portage la Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, this past summer I had the privilege of meeting someone who has turned unimaginable loss into purpose and hope. Mr. Joseph Foray. Joseph is the founder of the Singing Red Bear Foundation and the creator of the No Thanks, I'm Good campaign. Joseph's journey is one of courage and resilience. He celebrates 6 years of sobriety and shares a message of life, hope, and healing with others every single day. But this mission comes from a place of deep pain. In April 2023, Joseph lost his son Harlan to fentanyl poisoning, a tragedy that no parent should ever have to endure. Harlan wasn't an addict or a drug user. The No Thanks, I'm Good campaign was born out of Harlan's own words, as this was something he said when offered drugs. However, on a night of his passing, he was convinced by new co-workers to try a recreational drug that he didn't know was laced with fentanyl. It cost him his life. Today, through the Singing Red Bear Foundation, Joseph works to motivate, inspire, encourage others to live drug-free, reminding us that education and awareness saves lives. He speaks to youth, families, and communities about the dangers of fentanyl, a substance so deadly that even a trace amount can take a life. Joseph's advocacy is deeply personal and it's deeply powerful. His story is helping change lives right here in Manitoba. I want to close today by honoring Joseph and remembering Harlan, whose words mean this: no thanks, I'm good. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honourable First Minister on a point of order.
Of course, on behalf of the Government of Manitoba, I want to offer our sincere thanks to everything that's been brought to the table today by Marcia and Joseph. I did want to canvass the House if there's leave to revert to introduction of bills.
I thank the Honourable First Minister. It's not a point of order. Is there leave of the House to return to introduction of bills? Agreed, and so ordered. The Honourable First Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the Minister of Education, that Bill number 50, the Constitutional Questions Amendment Act, loi modifiant la loi sur les questions constitutionnelles, be now read a first time.
Been moved by the Honourable First Minister, seconded by the Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, that Bill number 50, the Constitutional Questions Amendment Act, be now read a first time. The Honourable First Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government will never use the notwithstanding clause. But this bill, Bill 50, will ensure that any future government in Manitoba that wants to use the notwithstanding clause will have to refer that bill immediately to the courts in this province so that they can declare if those actions would otherwise violate people's rights, if not for the use of Section 33. We're introducing this bill at a time in our country where other governments are using the notwithstanding clause to target religious people, to target LGBTQ2S+ people, to target vulnerable minorities. That's not who we are as Manitobans. That's not who we are as Canadians. Bill 50 will ensure that we always remain the true north strong, and most of all, free.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed, and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. The Honourable, back to member statements. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
Yeah, I'm just seeking leave, Honourable Speaker, for a moment of silence for Joseph's son, Harlan Fourier.
Is there leave for a moment of silence? Agreed, and so ordered. We will now return to member statements. The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Honourable Speaker, this past summer, our community was able to respond to youth crime being done by children during summer months. Reports and video footage were circulating of kids as young as 9 years old out at 4:30 in the morning setting fires, committing property damage and violence. A community youth leader described it like this: if a child is out at 4:30 in the morning, that means it's safer outside than it is at home. Together, inner-city school principals and superintendents, Rossbrook House, Boys and Girls Club, Evermore, children and youth themselves came up with a plan to respond to unsafe behavior in the summertime. School kids were surveyed and they said that they wanted a nice place to hang out with their friends, a space to do cultural and art activities, and lots of sports. So together we came up with free summer day camps held in 3 locations in the Weston community in the Daniel McIntyre area, and we called it Summer in the City. The goal was simple, to offer free, positive activities for youth from grades 5 to 9. And these free day camps were recreation-based, provided hot meals, and ran until past 8 p.m. at night. Kids took part in leadership activities led by local high school and university students, and together they created a camp contract, setting values of respect, teamwork, and accountability, and they lived those values every day of the 6-week camp. Camp staffers spoke about shy campers finding their voice and returning each day by walking or by bus, eager to lead. The camps were run by an organization called One Voice, One Team, and I'm grateful to them for the connection they fostered with Notre Dame youth and their ability to strengthen our sense of community. And I request members to acknowledge members of One Voice, One Team present today with us: Jermaine Fraser, Victoria Gonzalez, Priska Liu, Callan Merriman, Kaylee Solinsky, and Tiana Desmarais. And I want to thank all parents, volunteers, Winnipeg School Division leaders, and especially our youth participants for this inaugural run of Summer in the City.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to celebrate a truly special community event in Fort White, the Lindenwoods Fall Classic, which took place on Sunday, October 5th. A torrential downpour of rain and speed of tornado speeds could not keep runners away. The Fall Classic has been a beloved tradition since 2004, created by an arm's-length committee of the Ecole Van Wellingham School Parent Council. What began as a simple fundraising goal to build a play structure on school grounds has grown into something much greater. Over the years, the event has helped fund playground improvements, walking and running paths, shade structures, and has contributed over $80,000 to the Pembina Trails Breakfast Program. In total, the Classic has raised over $190,000 for school and community projects, a testament to what a dedicated group of volunteers can achieve. This year marks the 18th year of the celebration. This year, I had the pleasure of volunteering at one of the water stations, handing out water while there was a torrential rainstorm, when I got to cheer on runners of all ages as they braved the rain to complete their run. The event featured something for everyone, including the Mighty Mile for younger runners, a 5K, and a 10K race. The Lindenwoods Classic is proudly recognized by the Manitoba Runners Association, with the 10K as part of the MRA Classic Series, and the 5K and the Mighty Mile included in the MRA Youth Series. Events like this in Lindenwoods and Fort White, the Lindenwood Fall Classic, are all about community. They're about bringing families and neighbors together to showcase the power of volunteerism. I want to congratulate all of the organizers, volunteers, and participants for the incredible efforts. And like I promised you at the event, I will do my best to compete in the Mighty Mile next year. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to celebrate my first summer as the MLA of Transcona. I have to say, there's no better place to spend the season than in my community. From festivals to movies in the square to the Transcona Aquatic Park, every corner of Transcona offers something to see, do, and celebrate. This summer, the Transcona Museum gave residents the chance to see our community in a whole new light through their historic walking tours. It was such a great way to explore the streets we walk every day to discover some hidden art and hear those little bits of the local legend that make Transcona what it is. Of course, no Transcona summer would be complete without the High Neighbour Festival. Each year, families, neighbours, and local businesses come together for a weekend full of fun. The festival offers free Friday and Saturday night concerts, kids entertainment, food vendors, and community booths. It truly is the heartbeat of summer in Transcona. Another highlight this year was the Transcona Biz Markets on Thursday. This was a wonderful opportunity for 21 vendors to showcase their talents. The Transcona Biz introduced market features as a way for community members to connect with local groups and clubs. These included the Transcona Trail Trekkers, Mad Science, a bike safety demo, the Transcona Garden Club, and the Transcona Optimist Club. And speaking of community, I want to recognize L'Arche Winnipeg, who fill Transcona with warmth and creativity all year round. Their picnic, art shows, and music nights at L'Arche Tova Cafe are always a standout. This summer once again showed that Transcona truly has it all. Whether you're exploring our murals, browsing at the market, dancing at High Neighbor, or sharing coffee and music with friends at L'Arche, there's simply no better place to be. I'm so grateful that I get to represent this amazing community, and I encourage all Manitobans to plan their next staycation in Transcona and invite my colleagues to join me in recognizing the people who made all these celebrations possible.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
On House business?
On House business, the Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Honourable Speaker, could you please canvass the House to see if there is leave to refer Bill 203, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, to the previously announced Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development meeting tonight on October 16, 2025 at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Order, please. Is there leave to refer Bill 203, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, to the previously announced Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development meeting tonight, October 16, 2025 at 6 p.m. Is there leave? I hear a no. Leave has been denied. Order. Question period. Oral questions. Prior to oral questions, we have seated in the public gallery from Garden City Collegiate 25 grade 9 students under the direction of Lindsay Torrio. The group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for McPhillips. We welcome you here today. I'd also like to draw members' attention to the Speakers Gallery, and I would like to introduce Shay Jolicoeur, the very first Indigenous tour officer with the Legislative Assembly Visitor Tour Program. This position was created earlier this year, and Shay began her duties in July. Shay is a Métis woman from St. Laurent, Manitoba, and in this role she will be developing programming focused on Indigenous truth and reconciliation and centering Indigenous perspectives. Shay also acts as the lead for marketing and communications for the Visitor Tour Program, and I'd ask all members to join me in welcoming Shay to her new role at the Assembly. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Honourable Speaker, I and every other Manitoban are in shock to hear how much this Premier is paying his friend, former reporter, and trade commissioner to the USA. Nearly $400,000 a year. Roughly the same amount of money the Prime Minister of Canada is making, and the combined salary of this Premier and Mayor of Winnipeg. Wow. Richard Madden is making up nearly 8 times the average of Manitoban makes in their salary. And to quote from his own words, "Have coffee with staffers and American legislatures," end quote. Not one trade deal in 5 months, not one memorandum of understanding with this trade commissioner, and not $1 invested in Manitoba. Will the Premier today point to a single trade deal that justifies paying his friend $400,000 a year.
The Honourable First Minister.
Richard Madden's a great guy. He's got the smarts.
Order.
He's got the looks. He's got the connections to make the case for Manitoba in Washington, D.C. When we announced this position, we said that we needed somebody who was a little bit Trumpy. And Mr. Madden is the right guy to operate in the Trump 2.0 environment. When we're talking about trade deals, there's one trade deal that matters to us as Manitobans and Canadians. That's CUSMA. CUSMA is heading into review in 2026. Mr. Madden is spearheading our effort to make connections at the state level, at the congressional level, at the Senate level, and he will be a brilliant representative to the Trump administration. Of course, setting up shop in the embassy for Canada ensures that he has the right sort of access across the board to work hard for you. We've been standing up to Donald Trump, standing up for Canada. We'll never bow down to Trump like the members opposite.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
This is not a serious premier. That was not a serious answer. He talks about hiring a guy because he's got the looks and he looks like Donald Trump. And that justifies paying his friend $400,000. Manitobans are making the tough decisions on groceries and putting gas in their car. And he says he hired a guy because he's got the looks. This is embarrassing. This is pathetic. The Premier must apologize for that. Yes. Richard Madden has zero experience in trade or contract negotiations. Yep. Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Quebec are all paying far less for their trade offices. And Richard Madden, with a $400,000 salary, has brought in how many dollars to Manitoba? Zero. Will the Premier stand up today and justify to Manitobans that are struggling to put food on their table, put gas in their car, and pay their bills, how he can pay his friend $400,000 for $0 of investments in Manitoba?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable First Minister.
In addition to having the smarts, in addition to having the look, in addition to having the connections right across Trump World 2.0, Mr. Madden also has a very important quality right now. He is a storyteller. He's remarkably well positioned to tell the Manitoba story. We have what the world needs and we have what America needs. Agriculture, energy, raw materials, critical minerals, and most of all, a talented, hardworking people who are going to power this economy into an AI-enabled future. You know who's not well positioned to tell the Manitoba story? The members opposite. They cut and closed our presence in Washington, D.C. They thanked Donald Trump. They chose a leader for their party. Direct quote to Donald Trump on the tariffs, "Thank you. I would say thank you." End quote. We'll never bow down to Donald Trump. We're proud to have Richard Madden working for you. Right on.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
Again, the Premier resorts to jokes. Now he says storytelling, along with good looks, justifies a $400,000 salary for his friend, when his friend has brought $0 of investments to Manitoba. When Manitobans are struggling with cost of living right now, this Premier says he hired someone because of his looks and his storytelling. The Premier cannot name one single accomplishment for his trade buddy in Washington, and nothing that justifies a $400,000 salary. Alberta is paying less, Ontario is paying less, Quebec is paying less, and they're all bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. Saskatchewan's Premier went to Indonesia and signed a $1 billion contract with them. This Premier is sitting on his hands trying to justify paying his friend $400,000. So I'll ask him again, what is his best friend in Washington, D.C. doing to justify $400,000 salary?
Hear, hear, hear.
The Honourable First Minister.
What did the member opposite do with the $500,000 he got from Heather Stephenson?
Great question.
It's $100,000 more. Any deals brought for Manitoba businesses during the depths of the COVID recession? No, none. Any new increased revenue, top line or otherwise, to businesses? No, none. Which of his businesses are still in operation today? Well, maybe he's supporting the industry of the lawyers defending him in small claims court and the Court of Queen's bench. But other than that, the member doesn't have a leg to stand on. When I'm talking about storytelling, I'm talking about being able to pierce the veil surrounding President Trump so that he understands that trade with Manitoba and trade with Canada is good for the U.S. That is how we stand up for jobs. That is how we stand up for our economy. On the other side, all they know how to do to Mr. Trump is to avert eye contact and say, "Thank you, sir." We'll never bow down. We are the true north, strong and free, and we're proud to have talented, valuable people working.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
That is a desperate Premier looking for an answer. Attacks, jokes. Premier can attack me all he wants. It's not about me. It's about Manitobans. We are trying to put Manitobans first. Premier has no answers for why he's paying his friend $400,000. Failures upon more failures by this Premier and NDP government. As the Minister of Families likes to say, and I quote, "When they show you who they are, believe them," end quote. Just like you saw today, he'll laugh, he'll attack, and he'll ridicule, but he won't answer any questions. So I'm going to ask him a really simple question. This diagnostic backlog is over 30,000 people here in Manitoba. It's grown 9,000 people under the NDP. What is the Premier doing to address the 30,000 people waiting in Manitoba for an MRI?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
Healthcare is our top priority. So what we're doing on tests and diagnostics is we're running more tests, more scans, more diagnostics than have ever been done before in the history of Manitoba. All thanks to our great health minister. Now, when it comes to good news in healthcare, of course, the members opposite just wallow in doom and gloom, still licking their wounds from the last election. We're here talking about Manitoba's great, bright future. Today, I'm proud to share with the House of that target in this fiscal year, March to March, to add 800 surgeries in Selkirk. Well, we've done 402. Wow. Lots done, more to do, much to risk if we ever go back to the other side.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
If healthcare was so important for this Premier, why is the Manitoba Nurses Union giving his failed health minister a D-? Wow. Goes to show you how serious this Premier is taking health. Another failure. Let's talk about more failures by this NDP government. Math gets a failing grade from any teacher in Manitoba except the ones on the government benches. The Premier's math was so bad that he tried to say he added more jobs, but in reality, there was a net loss of 1,300 jobs between August and September. Wow. Another failure. Manitoba's economy is failing. Grocery prices are rising. Another failure by this Premier. The Premier is picking winners and losers. Another failure by this Premier. This Premier is only accomplishing one thing: dividing Manitobans. Will the Premier today commit to reversing his Manitoba Jobs Agreement, where he divides Manitobans based on union and non-union status?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
You know, the Leader of the Opposition's all worked up. He's got visions in his head, and he doesn't know where to strike. We heard 20 different subjects in 10 seconds of that question. And why is he so shook, Honourable Speaker? Well, you look at that list of committee speakers tonight. Who's there after the Patrick Allards and other interesting types of the world? Well, there it is. The man who got more votes in the PC leadership contest this year, Wally Dodrick. Nobody knows whether our friend Wally is here to rub it in the face of the member opposite. Is he here to talk about polar bears? Maybe he's going to do what every single member of the PC party did when it comes to the bill and say that the NDP is doing a good job and this legislation should pass through the House. We know that there will certainly be some spicy moments when Wally comes to town. I wonder if the member opposite can share what they have in store for us tonight.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
Since the Premier is having a hard time keeping track of where we're going, the theme is failures by his NDP government. Failures in health, failures in crime, failures in economy, and now failures when it comes to accountability. The theme sets itself. It's not a privilege to do this job, it's a right. Who said that? Another clear failure by this Premier. He doesn't understand the privilege and honor it is to be here. He thinks it's a right for his minister. Wow. He thinks by us asking questions is racist or violence when all we're doing is asking questions. Another failure by this Premier. So, will the Premier stand up today and apologize for calling Manitobans goofballs? Will he take any sort of accountability for his actions or for that of his failed Minister of Families?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
Well, the question about failure, I think the biggest failure we all know is the member's failure to get more votes than Wally in the PC leadership contest. But when it comes to the members that I'm surrounded by who make up your provincial cabinet, I got to say, they're delivering on our promises to you. We promised to cut the gas tax, we delivered and brought down inflation. We promised to staff up healthcare, 3,400 new frontline staff in the healthcare system. We promised to freeze hydro rates, check mark next to that one as well. And of course, we didn't promise this. We didn't promise this to search the landfill, but we did, and we brought home Morgan and Mercedes. Why? Why did we have to make that commitment in the election campaign? Sorry, was there something on the other side that a member wanted to say about the landfill search?
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, the numbers are out and this NDP government is failing on job creation. Economic growth is the worst in Canada. The NDP lost over 5,000 jobs in the month of August, and now youth unemployment has risen to over 12%. Can the minister explain why youth employment is up 3% since 2023?
Wow.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, we're proud to have added 5,300 jobs in the last month. That's progress. Now, Manitobans have a government that's focused on building a strong economy, and we're responding to the moment and the economic challenges that surround us. Of course, in our last budget, we were really proud to bring forward a Trump-proof budget that's seeing us invest $3.7 billion in building one Manitoba. That's We're proud to be doing the work that didn't happen for years under the members opposite. We're building 11 schools, 3 personal care homes, new energy infrastructure, new pick. We're getting the job done of ensuring we're investing to create jobs in Manitoba and move our economy forward.
This time has expired. The Honourable Member for Midland on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, numbers don't lie, and the reality is this NDP government is operating at a net loss of job creation over the past 3 months. Manitoba youth and students are wanting to work, but this NDP government has failed them with 2 years of rising youth unemployment. Under the NDP, economy is trending downward with the lowest growth rate in Canada. This is hurting young people in Manitoba that just want to get their first job. How can this government defend the rise in youth unemployment that is happening under their watch?
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
That's not true, Honourable Speaker. Youth unemployment is down, and we've created 17,000 jobs in 2 years. That's progress. You know,
Numbers don't lie.
I'm so proud to be part of this team and to work with our incredible Minister for Business, Mining, Jobs and Job Creation. We've done amazing work bringing forward recently our economic development strategy. We're going to see a new $50 million business loan program. We're enhancing investment tax credits to ease costs for businesses. And of course, we're ensuring young Manitobans have a clear path to good jobs. And of course, beyond that, we're investing in things that the members opposite cut, like investing in ensuring we have a representative in Washington to make sure Manitoba's voice is there to fight for jobs and more prosperity in our province. Members opposite cut, we're moving Manitoba forward.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Midland on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, let's go through some of those figures. Unemployment has risen to 6.2%, and youth unemployment is now 12.5%. The minister's own labour force report says they lost 2,600 jobs, youth jobs, since last year. That's a 19% increase in youth unemployment after just 2 years of this NDP government. Will this minister admit that he has failed Manitoba's youth?
Here, here, here.
The honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, I'm going to borrow a term from my friend, the Minister for Municipal Northern Relations, and remind the members opposite that Manitobans are tired of a chicken little opposition here in the Legislature. Honourable Speaker, the work continues. We're doing really important work in ensuring that Manitoban businesses can move their goods to market, including through investments in increasing access to trade. We've made investments in Churchill. The members opposite might have heard recently that the federal government is going to be helping us to ensure that Churchill is a place where Manitoban goods can move to the world. We're also investing, of course, in the railway that gets those goods to Churchill. We're investing in Centerport, trade-supporting infrastructure. We know the work that needs to be done after years of disinvestment from the members opposite. This government, this team is going to build the strongest economy in Canada, and Manitoba.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Borderland.
This so-called Manitoba Jobs Agreement brought forward by the NDP is nothing more than political payback by the NDP to their union boss friends who bail them out every time they need help. And they are using other people's money to do it. Under the Manitoba Jobs Agreement, every Manitoba worker will have to pay union dues whether they choose to be unionized or not. Can the minister explain why non-unionized workers should have to pay dues when they chose not to be unionized?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank the member for that question. When workers do well, Manitoba does well. That's why we signed our first Manitoba Jobs Agreement with the Manitoba Building Trade to create good jobs by building 4 new schools.
Right on.
This is the first step in new policy to support local labor on major infrastructure projects. This is an agreement to ensure contractors prioritize Manitoba workers and set standards for wages, benefit, and working conditions.
Right on.
The honourable member for Borderland on a supplementary question.
Half of that NDP government spent their lives in special interest groups before getting into politics. They don't know anything about the realities of working-class Manitobans. 80% of Manitoba's construction workforce is made up of open, shop, non-unionized employees. These are real working people, blue-collar providers who have bills to pay and families to feed. These are the people who build our schools, hospitals, and highways. Can the minister tell us why they're discriminating against Manitobans who choose not to join a union?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to remind the member, hopefully he can apologize in the next his questions. Half of our caucus is teachers on this side of the aisle.
Why do you hate teachers' jobs?
The real question is, Honourable Speaker, the real question is, their previous premier got caught putting his hand into the cookie jar after they lost the elections. What they have done before that, that's the real question. So did they take everything out of the cookie? And the cookie jar? So again, their corruption on the other side, every single on the. Thank you.
The honourable member for Borderland on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, what a nonsense answer, but I'll tell you what, this PC team, this Progressive Conservative team, will never apologize for standing up for working-class Manitobans. Under this NDP government, crime is out of control, healthcare is worse, the economy is worse, Manitoba's GDP growth is dead last in the entire country, and they're now cutting 80% of Manitoba's open shop contractors and construction workers out of building our schools, hospitals, and highways. And they did this without any consultation with any of the affected industry stakeholders. One question, Honourable Speaker, how do they sleep at night?
Order. Order. The Honourable First Minister.
You know, it's a strange reality inhabited by the members across the way when they stand up for very mid answers. And of course, they neglect the great things that are happening across the province because of you. The great people in Manitoba have led to 3,400 new frontline healthcare staff, new emergency rooms reopening, a cut to the gas tax to put more money in your pocket. What have the PCs brought to the table, including the member for Borderlands, over the past 2 years? A premier in the form of Heather Stephenson, the first ever to be fined. A caucus member in the back row right now. Has he paid his fine? Do his caucus members ask whether they're paying for the fine? Again, these are all very, very important questions the people of Manitoba would like to know. In the meantime, we don't sleep at night. We're working hard for you.
Well, member's time is expired. The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Minister of Justice must be exhausted, standing up time and time again in this House to address his failures in justice. I know Manitobans are getting tired of the false rhetoric and the fantasy he presents as fact. A year ago, he pretended he had an answer to organized crime in the Swan Valley area. So why, to date, has that GIS unit not been stood up by this minister, or is this just another NDP broken promise?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about the great work that our Minister of Justice has done and is doing on this file. Honourable Speaker, our Minister of Justice is advocating face-to-face with the federal minister today, and we will continue to push this issue. I regret that the member opposite has failed to watch the news this afternoon, so I will be happy to update the House about the incredible progress that our minister has made just today with our partners at the federal level. We have now succeeded in our leading the national push for bail reform after 7 years of PC neglect on the issue. Just today, the federal government has made an exciting announcement on bail reform across Canada. I look forward to updating the member so that he can do his job a little bit better.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Brandon West on a supplementary question.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I see he is so exhausted he can't muster the strength to stand up in this chamber today and answer this question. So when we speak about failings, this very Premier said we don't need any other level of government to fix bail reform, and now his minister is asking the federal government to help him. Why does this NDP government continue to fail when it comes to crime?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I look forward for the next coming days for the member opposite to have a couple of days to lick his wounds and prepare the apology that he can provide to the Minister of Justice the next time he should have a chance to ask a question if the leader gives him that opportunity. But as I just shared with the House, Honourable Speaker, our Justice Minister has had fantastic success just today leading the charge with our partners at the federal level who have announced a new bill on bail reform. Thanks to the leadership of our Premier, thanks to the leadership of our incredible Minister of Justice, Canada is finally stepping up and is going to introduce a bill to finally introduce some bail reform into Canada. So, one of the things that our
time has expired. The honourable member for Brandon West on a final supplementary question.
Speaking of apologies, Honourable Speaker, I'm wondering when this Premier will stand up in this House and apologize for the false narrative that he put out, saying that he could solve bail reform all on his own.
That's right.
Now his minister is pleading with the federal government to bring this forward. We won't apologize for sticking up for Manitobans, but the apology should come for Swan River and why the GIS section is not set up there under this failing Justice Minister.
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And if the member opposite were serious about improving public safety here in Manitoba, if the member opposite were serious about bail reform here in Canada, he would be celebrating this announcement that we have heard from Prime Minister Carney today. Because what these changes will do will keep Manitobans on our streets safer. One of the things that we have asked the federal government to do, and one of the commitments that we understand that this bail reform bill will include, is an expansion of RCMP resources and officers. 1,000 new RCMP personnel will be funded thanks to the advocacy, as I said, of our Premier and of the Minister of Justice. Again, I hope that the member opposite takes the opportunity this weekend.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Springfield-Rashott.
In September of 2024, this failed NDP Premier committed to lowering grocery prices. In fact, he went on to say, falsely, that he would be rewriting the rules to stop greedy corporations from price gouging. Question is to this Premier, how's that working?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm so proud to be part of the team that's making life more affordable for Manitobans. In Budget 2025, our Finance Minister gave Manitobans not one, not two, but 25 ways to save them. And that's on top of our permanent gas tax cut. I can't wait to keep working to lower costs for all Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable.
Right on.
The honourable member for Springfield-Rashott on a supplementary question.
I don't think Manitobans understand what that answer was, and I would point out.
He doesn't either.
Today, there's a new report out today which indicates, and I quote, nearly half of Manitobans say they often can't make ends meet. Goes on to say, and I quote, often find themselves in situations where they don't know how they're going to find the money to get by. The question is to this Premier. He made all kinds of commitments. Maybe he should stop talking and start listening to Manitobans. They can't afford to put groceries on the table. People are struggling in this province. At least 50% of them are struggling. Why does this Premier not start listening to Manitobans and then maybe indicate what he has for a program?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our team took action right away to lower costs by cutting the gas tax and saving Manitoban 14 cents a litre. Now, this year, we will freeze hydro rates, and we are ending that restrictive covenant that made grocery prices more expensive. There's more work to do, and our team is getting it done for all Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Springfield-Rashott on a final supplementary question.
So this canoe government has a new saying for Manitobans. If they can't afford bread, they should eat gas. 48% of Manitobans say Manitoba's economic outlook for the province will get worse. Even worse, 33% say it's going to stay as bad, and 48% say it's going to get worse. To this Premier, when is he going to stop talking? When is he going to start listening to Manitobans who can't afford to put groceries on the table? When is he going to come up with some kind of a program, some kind of help, and not his platitudes, and not his smarky smile, and not his jokes, and not his stupid pet tricks? When is he going to get up and do something for Manitoba families who can't afford groceries?
The Honourable First Minister.
Well, the first thing that we did when we took government is that we cut the gas tax. That put more money into your pocket. I remember people coming up and saying, when gas prices were 99 cents on January 1, 2024, it was a big help. I remember being at the rink and having a dad say, you know what? I was able to take the family to McDonald's with the money that we saved gassing up. And now you want to know what we did with that? We made it permanent. We also froze your hydro rates. We ensured that there's more money at the end of the month for you to go buy groceries, to go take the kids to the movies. What else we did, of course, though, is we ended the inflation that was skyrocketing under the PCs, driven by energy prices. The members opposite have many, many things that they should be asking themselves when we won the election on bread and butter economic issues. But the first question they should be asking the member for Springfield Rashad is, are you finally going to get vaccinated this year?
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There's a great deal of concern with regards to international students as well as work permits for people of Ukrainian heritage that have settled in Manitoba since the war. Can the minister provide us with the number of PNP certificates that the province will be receiving in 2025?
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member for that excellent question regarding the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. This year in 2025, the federal government made an initial cut. It was like a 50% cut compared to last year. It was a very devastating blow to our economy and all the efforts that we have here to grow and build here in Manitoba. Thankfully, through the advocacy that we've had here with ministers around this side of the House, and also through partnerships with the business community and also with municipal leaders, we were able to convince the federal government to increase our quota, and we're actually
This time has expired. The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, in order to meet Manitoba's labour needs and at the same time support temporary visa holders that are currently under implied status or restoration, our province needs to be very clear as to where we stand. Can the minister share how many people are currently being processed and how many are still in the pool not currently being processed?
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As I was just trying to finish up the previous response, we have been able to increase our numbers to over 6,200. And yes, and just yesterday at a meeting with the federal, provincial, territorial ministers of immigration, we were able to get that number up another 200, so that's another 6,400 families here in Manitoba that we're going to be able to make permanent residents and Canadian citizens and Manitoba citizens permanently. We're continuing to advocate with the federal government. That work does not stop because we need to have Manitoba provincial nominee.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In recent weeks, I've met with individuals where their PNP certificate has expired, but their application for permanent residence has been submitted. Will the minister approve of extending the validity of a PNP certificate so that there are no complications, whether it be for reasons such as extended processing times for permanent residents or issues related to temporary visa holders?
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Work permit expirations is in the field and jurisdiction of the federal government, so I would ask the member to, refer to federal counterparts on that particular query. But as it relates to Ukrainian refugees that are in Manitoba, I'm very pleased to announce to this House today that last month we were able to bring in every single Ukrainian family that was part of the Manitoba nominee application, and that amounted to over 1,400 Ukrainian families across Manitoba.
The honourable member for Kirkfield Park.
It has been 149 days since the Ethics Commissioner released his report into how former PC Premier Heather Stefanson broke the law and violated our Constitution, becoming the first Premier to be fined under the Act for breaking the law. Manitobans still have many questions for former PC Premier Heather Stefanson, but still, Manitobans have gotten no answer from her, the PC leader, or anyone else from his ethically bankrupt, corrupt PC caucus who helped break the law. Can the minister tell the House what the PC leader must do today to repair the damage his party has done to our democracy?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you to my friend, the MLA for Kirkfield Park, for that excellent question. And that is right. It has been 149 days since the Ethics Commissioner released his report into how the former Premier Heather Stefanson, how Cliff Cullen and the member for Red River North broke the law. Not only that, but it has been 10 whole days since the corrupt PCs were fined, making shameful history here in Manitoba. But Manitobans aren't any closer to finding out why Heather Stefanson and the PCs broke the law. The PC leader remains tight-lipped, showing absolutely no leadership. The clock is ticking, Honourable Speaker, to pay those fines. So, will the PC leader show any leadership today? Will he stand up for honest, hard-working Manitobans? Will he call his donor, the former PC Premier Heather Stefanson, at her Cayman Island beach house today to ensure that she pays her fines to the people of Manitoba?
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to table a document today that nearly half of Manitobans say they can't make ends meet, so half of them can't go to the hockey rink. Honourable Speaker, I want to ask this Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness if she would like to join me this Friday, tomorrow at 11 a.m. for a meeting at Stevens Apartments in Portage and explain why this government has not been taking applications for that building for over 2 years. Wow.
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know what I will say to that member is we are taking applications from every Manitoban for all of our Manitoba housing buildings. We are open for business. We want to fill as many units as we can, unlike members opposite who sold off Manitoba housing, who did not put investments into fixing up Manitoba housing. We're not taking that approach. We are investing, we are fixing up, we are building, we are open for business, and we are taking care of residents. Members opposite, they gutted the department, they fired people in that were ensuring that people were successfully tenanted. We are not taking that approach.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie on a supplementary question.
We have people in Portage-La Prairie looking and begging for Manitoba housing suites every day. Honourable Speaker, can this failed minister tell all those people that are waiting for housing why Stevens Apartments are 2/3 empty for the past 2 years and they have nowhere to live?
The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, our minister in charge of housing is doing an amazing job renovating units, bringing hundreds of units online, and accepting applications from people across the province, seniors, people who are looking to grow their families, people who need access to new living conditions because of change in life. She's working for all those people. Gladly will work with people from Portage La Prairie because we know that we love everybody in Manitoba, including folks outside the perimeter. It was a real far cry from what we saw from the Leader of the Opposition the other day talking to a room of farmers just downstairs. And he visited a farm this summer. He said, people inside the city need to find out about what happens on these farms. They really, really need to know. It's kind of embarrassed for him. I was only just sitting there thinking to myself, brother, wait till you hear about reserves.
The time for oral questions has expired. Order, please. I'd like to draw attention of all honourable members to the loge to my left, where we have with us today Harold Taylor, former MLA for Wolseley, and on behalf of all honourable members, we welcome you here today. Now, pursuant to yesterday's leave agreement, I'd remind members that the Speaker is standing and should be heard. Pursuant to yesterday's leave agreement, condolence motions to be debated before petitions, up to 2 members from each party and independent members to speak for 10-minute debates. So, just as a reminder, the House reached the following agreements yesterday: that consideration of condolence motions will occur immediately following oral questions today, postponing petitions and grievances until consideration of the motions is complete, and up to 2 members from recognized parties and each independent member may speak to each condolence motion for up to 10 minutes. I will also remind members that in accordance with Rule 63, at the conclusion of speeches of a condolence motion, the Speaker shall put the question and ask members to signify their approval of the motion by rising in their places for a moment of silence. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Can you please call the condolence motion for Harry Schellenberg, former MLA for Rossmere, followed by the condolence motion for Gérard Lécuyer, former MLA for Radisson, followed by the condolence motion for Harold Dreger, the former MLA for Niagara.
It has been announced that we will now consider condolence motion for Harry Schellenberg, former MLA for Wellington and Inkster. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the Minister of Finance, that this House convey to the family of the late Harry Schellenberg, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family.
So it's been moved by the Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, seconded by the Honourable Minister of Finance, that this House convey to the family of the late Harry Schellenberg, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. The floor is now open for speakers. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It gives me great pleasure and it's a real honour to rise today to speak to this condolence motion for such an excellent MLA and human being, Harry Schellenberg. Honourable Speaker, there are many, many reasons that I am proud and very humble to serve as the MLA for Rossmere. And not the least of those reasons is because I follow in the footsteps of the great Harry Schellenberg. Harry Schellenberg was such an excellent MLA, an excellent mentor and friend to so many of us in this chamber on both sides. So Harry and I share this great honor of being the MLA for Rossmere, but we shared something more than that. Harry and I also shared a name. That's right, Honourable Speaker. I grew up as a Schellenberg. I haven't always been a Schmidt. I spent the first several decades of my life as a Schellenberg. And while we weren't related, I was not actually related to Harry. Harry's roots, his Schellenberg roots were from the Boissevain area of Manitoba. My own Schellenberg family roots are in the Altona area. Those areas aren't so far apart, but these are two different Schellenberg roots. But because Harry and I lived in the same community and we shared the same somewhat unique last name, we were often assumed to be related. And this was especially true during election time, Honourable Speaker, when orange Schellenberg signs would pop up on hundreds of lawns across the neighbourhood. And I raise this to talk about something that my partisan heart loves to talk about. There's so many things that we could talk about when we talk about Harry, but my partisan heart, and I know Harry was a true partisan and a true New Democrat, I love to talk about Harry's legacy and particularly his historic political career and comeback, which was somewhat against all odds. So again, this first happened, these Schellenberg lawn signs appeared all over the neighborhood, first in 1993. I was in middle school, and that's when Harry first ran in a by-election, which he went on to win. So at that time in 1993, kids in my school, even teachers in the school, recognizing the same last name, they would ask, is that your dad? No. Is Harry your dad? No. Good luck to your dad. Thanks. I would finally just I became so exhausted with having to explain over and over that there wasn't any relation. Everyone assumed there was relation, so sometimes I would just stop correcting people. And so there was this sort of white lie around the school that perhaps I may have been related to Harry Schellenberg. Of course, he went on to great success in the 1993 election. When the general election came around in 1995 and the Schellenberg signs went up, Harry fought incredibly hard. But the next morning at school, I heard, sorry about the loss, must be hard on your family. And it must have been hard. That election was very close. But Harry was an incredibly determined, incredibly value-driven person. And he believed in the New Democrats. He believed in the NDP. And he believed in an NDP government's commitment to making life better for everyday folks just like him. Harry believed in a government that worked for teachers, that worked for farmers, that worked for workers, that worked for families. So he did not accept that defeat in 1995. He kept working, he kept speaking with his neighbors. And when those Schellenberg signs went back up in 1999, Harry was running against Vic Taves, who was the PC Justice Minister at the time. Many assumed Mr. Taves was heavily favored to win. But in the biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets perhaps, in the history of Northeast Winnipeg, Harry soundly defeated Vic Taves in the 1999 election. And in his victory, Harry taught us New Democrats what he had been teaching his students for many years before that, which is to never give up. To never let anyone tell you that it can't be done. And if at first you don't succeed, try again. I'd like to read a little bit. I had the great fortune of having the resources of the Legislative Library, who was able to do some research for me about the 1999 election. So I won't read a lot, but I do want to read from the public record a few public comments about the 1999 election, just to remind everyone about what it was like. So this is reporting of the morning after. There were cheers at an early NDP strong showing, groans when the Tories caught up, and shouts of joy when candidate Harry Schellenberg was declared a winner over Justice Minister Vic Taves in Rossmere. It's so sweet, I just had to read it onto the record, Honourable Speaker. I'd also like to read a little bit of Harry's own voice after that win. So again, this is commentary from the Free Press. New Democrat Harry Schellenberg, a former high school and Stony Mountain Institution teacher, played giant killer in Rossmere, toppling Tory Justice Minister Vic Daves. Furthermore, in this same article, one of the bigger upsets of the evening was Harry Schellenberg, who sent Justice Minister Vic Daves packing in the traditionally Tory riding of Rossmere. And this is Harry being quoted here. I wanted some of Harry's words to be on the record here today because he can't be here with us in person, and I wish he were. These are Harry's words. I have felt for the last 4 years that we could take on the Tories, Schellenberg said. When people want things to change, they make it happen. And it doesn't matter to them that a prominent cabinet minister was running against me. I so appreciate Harry's words, his tenacity, and the ground that he laid in Rossmere. And I really am standing on the shoulders of giants. As Harry mentioned, there were times in Manitoba's history that Rossmere was considered a Tory stronghold, a PC stronghold. But Harry Schellenberg and folks that came before him and after have really changed the tide in Rossmere. And so he taught us so much about second chances. As I mentioned, you know, and as everyone in the House chamber knows, Harry was a teacher, spent many years as a teacher. He taught for many years world issues and history at River East Collegiate, which is the high school in Rossmere. But he also taught at Stony Mountain Penitentiary. And so this is just another one of those lessons that, that Harry gave to all of us about second chances. Harry believed that everyone, even those among us that are in the toughest of circumstances, those among us who have made poor choices, those among us who have walked some of the toughest roads in life, with some guidance and with a solid education, anyone can turn their life around. And that's something Harry believed in deeply and something I admired in him greatly, and is something that I believe all of us on this side of the House believe in and will continue to champion in Harry's memory. He also taught us about giving back to the community that gave to us and about helping our friends and our neighbors. And Harry gave me so much. He gave me, so not long after I became officially the candidate in Rossmere, Harry asked me to go out for coffee. We met at the Salisbury House on Henderson Highway, and he brought what I called the Rossmere Files, but my friend from Kildonan River East reminded me, I think probably Harry would have called it the Rossmere Bible. And what he brought for me were all of the Manitoba election books that he had from when he had run, all annotated in pencil in the margins with a poll-by-poll analysis. He gave me a notebook, again, on ruled lined paper, just like a teacher would, in pencil, with names and phone numbers of stakeholders and important contacts in the community. And I was just so very grateful for the time and energy that Harry had in not only his own political pursuits, but in passing that on to what you could call the next generation. I'm quickly running out of time. I have to tell you, 10 minutes seems just, frightfully, inadequate to talk about Harry. I know some of my friends will have some time. I do want to quickly mention the member for Concordia, the Minister of Justice, is not here today, but he wanted me, I apologize. The Minister of Justice, the member for Concordia, would like me to express so much his gratitude for everything that Harry gave to him and to our Northeast Winnipeg NDP community. So I remember so much about Harry, but most of all, I remember our visits. After becoming the candidate, we had many visits, sometimes with the member for Kildonan River East, sometimes just alone, always with Irene, sometimes with Angela, sometimes with Angela's children. Those visits and those final months and weeks will just stay with me forever. And it's really those times where we just sat in your living room talking. Those are the memories that I will cherish most of Harry. So while we miss him dearly, we thank him greatly for all that he gave to the constituents of Rossmere, for that everything he gave to our community as an educator, and we thank his family, his wife Irene, his children Angela and Harold, his grandchildren, for supporting Harry, for sharing him with us And thank you for all of your contributions and what you continue to give to our community. Thank you.
The honourable member for Springfield-Rashad.
When we first heard that Harry Schellenberg had passed away, I know for myself, I was quite taken aback. I was quite shaken by the fact that an individual that I've known for many years, that I've worked with in a lot of community projects, that I'd served with in this chamber, had passed. And I did not know how serious his health was, and he certainly went quickly, and much too quickly, I would suggest, because Harry Schellenberg is an North Kildonan institution. For those who in this chamber don't know North Kildonan or the northeast side of the city of Winnipeg, Harry Schellenberg helped to define the culture of Northeast Winnipeg. And I had the opportunity to work with him, and it was starting out, and he and a group of individuals, and I try to remember some of the names, and I am going to be speaking a little bit about Henry Tessman, and there were others, and I couldn't quite remember all the names of the board at that time. And they were community men and women. They were parents in the River East School Division at that time who wanted to put a language program into the River East school system. Laws had been passed that it was something that could be done. Government said yes, they had enough interested in individuals, and Harry Schellenberg was a leader. And the thing about him, and most of my colleagues don't know him, is he was tenacious. And he would keep coming at you and keep talking to you, and he always had a stack of papers and always had a really good argument. Boy, if you ever stumped him on something, he'd come back the next day and he'd have a really good answer, because he did his research why this was a good program. And he was very likable. It was just an incredible guy to work with. And in the community, and there was a group of parents, and it was quite large, who got the program going. And I'd like to say to the family that part of his legacy is the fact that Manitoba Parents for German Language Education still exists, and so does the German bilingual program in River East, now River East Transcona School Division. And I'd like to say to the family, because of the work of Harry and others, it wasn't just Harry Schellenberg, but there were others. My children got to go through that program and had an amazing education. And that is a legacy because of Harry Schellenberg. And I know he took time away from his family, from his wife and his children, because he was so passionate. This was one of his life's loves. He wanted to make sure this program went in. So then, and I always knew Harry Schellenberg was a New Democrat, and that was fine. We worked for a common goal. Then the day came, he said, you know, we've got to support somebody for school trustee. There was I believe it was a by-election. And yes, Harry Schellenberg and I worked together on a campaign. And I mentioned that in my comments when we had a bit of a condolence motion on November 21st of 2024. And he and I worked together, and I learned a lot about campaigning. And we fell short, and that's too bad, because Henry Tessman, outstanding individual in North Kildonan, involved in the medical community, and the Tessman family, of course, are just bedrock of North Kildonan families, and unfortunately we fell short. And I would suggest to this chamber one of the reasons why we fell short with that campaign is we should have listened more to Harry Schellenberg, because he kept saying we've got to do more door to door. And he was such a believer that you go door to door, even when it came to Manitoba Parents for German Language Education, is they would go door to door and they would talk to families and they would talk to people. That's how we got support for that program going. And should have listened. Henry's probably going to now go home and blame me for his loss because I didn't listen to Harry Schellenberg enough. I should have done more campaigning for him, but I guess maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But Henry was a great candidate, and I got to work with Harry Schellenberg in the way he did his politics, and he was very good at it. And by the way, Harry Schellenberg would be one of those guys who would take his stack of papers, and he would just go down some of the streets in Rossmere all alone, and he'd go door to door, and he would speak to people. Good lesson for all of us. Very good lesson. He was definitely a community-minded campaigner. In 1993, he got elected, was defeated in 95, and then he ran again in 1999, the same year I did, and we both got elected to this House, which was interesting because now you had two individuals who came from the North Kildonan area. I was a little bit north. The East St. Paul was part of my constituency. So we had some interesting times here in this chamber. And I would point out to the family that it was on the other end of this bench right here. Sometimes Harry Schellenberg and I would get into a tussle about an issue. And we both came from North Kildonan, so we both had strong opinions. And we would get into a debate, a fairly substantive debate, and we would do it in German. And there was one time the clerk started to look at us, but nobody understood what we were saying because he and I were having a fight in German. And I think, we all know that Harry Schellenberg was Mennonite and I'm evangelical Christian, and I think all the Pentecostals in the place thought we were speaking in tongues because they couldn't understand us. And we had some really, really passionate conversations here, and we would do it all in German. So how fitting that was. And you know what? He was no shirking violet. He would he would fight with you like you wouldn't believe, disagree with you. And at the end, I'd say to him, Harry, lass es schon gehen. Let it go. And we'd say, yeah, and then we'd make up, typical, and we had our debate, and that would be the end of it. And, when I heard that he had passed away, I thought about all the good times we had working together. And I thought about the good debates I had with him in German. And how much fun that was. And he was always respectful when he disagreed with you. Like, it was always on the issue. And we disagreed on issues. So he and I would debate the issue. And he never made it personal, never attacked. And he and I would, and because we both knew the community very well, because that was also at one point in time my school ward. So we could talk about different streets and we'd go after each other. And you know what? It was a lot of fun because, man, you go up against Harry Schellenberg, who had campaigned a lot in North Kildonan, and try to hold your own. You know what? He was a worthy opponent, and certainly enjoyed my time when I could engage with him. To the family of Harry Schellenberg, he took a lot of time away from you. And we all know that. We know how much time this takes. And to his children, and I'm sure his grandchildren who just loved him to pieces, I would like to say to them, thank you. He's left a really good legacy. He's left the legacy of Manitoba Parents through German language education. He left the legacy of the German bilingual program, which, by the way, I may have a few relatives who are teaching in that program. And they're doing a great job, and they've got full classes. And now it seems to be a lot of the Ukrainian immigrants who have traveled through Germany now are putting their students in the German bilingual program, which is interesting because not too sure where the Schellenberg family, if they were more Russian German or if they were Ukrainian German, but how fitting. How fitting the Ukrainians would get into a German program that Harry Schellenberg helped to create. So, you know what? He's left a great legacy. In his time here, he served well. He served with distinction, and he was an honorable man. And so, in the few moments I have left, I do want to leave with a salutation, and it is a very emotional one for those of you who come from a German background, so I'll try to get through it without getting too emotional. I'd like to close. Harry, Ruhe sanft in stiller Gruft, bis der Herr dich wieder ruft. Amen.
The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that I rise today on behalf of my constituents of Kildonan River East to acknowledge the great life of my late constituent of Kildonan River East, who was the former MLA for Rossmuir. My earliest memory of Harry was at a Rossmuir NDP constituency meeting when I was a teenager. My late grandpa, Rodney McCauley, who was the best volunteer sign man of Northeast Winnipeg, who worked closely with Harry, brought me to this executive meeting, and Harry welcomed me and, of course, presented me with a Tommy Douglas book. I don't believe that I fully embraced their attempts at recruitment on this first date that I had with Harry. But later, my high school vice principal at Miles Mac informed our student body that his wife had cancer. Our student council hosted a barbecue fundraiser at Kildonan Park, with proceeds going to Concordia Hospital. As school president, I sent invitations to all of the elected officials at all levels of government to come support our school's student-led initiative, our vice principal and his wife, and the great work of Concordia Hospital. No elected officials showed up, or so I thought. A man walked up very casually, extended his hand, and said, "I am Harry. Can I buy a hot dog?" That was the moment that stuck. As a young person, having Harry, the sitting MLA, show up made me feel seen and important. Showing up matters. That was who Harry was. He showed up for his students, his community, his church, and for the people who needed him most. And later in life, he showed up for me again. At the 2011 nomination meeting, Harry was right beside me, supportive as always, along with the late Lauren Topolniski. The two of them joked that I didn't have enough official clothes to be running for office, so they took me shopping at Le Chateau at Kildonan Place Mall, which was very interesting, I'm sure, to all these people watching it. The blazer I'm wearing today was actually the one they bought with me, and it was my first piece of grown-up clothing that I ever owned. So if you see me wearing it a lot, that's why. It's really special. Years later, when I was asked to run for office, I knew exactly who to call. Sorry, I'm going to stop looking at you. I knew exactly who to call. I asked Harry to meet me at possibly the most well-known Northeast Winnipeg meeting spot, already mentioned, the Salisbury House on Henderson Highway. Over coffee, in that familiar red booth, I asked him what he thought. His first response was, "Who will take care of your children?" I didn't have an Irene at home to help me. That question alone speaks volumes to the realities that so many women in politics face today, the constant balancing act between public service and family life. After my nomination, I began canvassing at some of the toughest polls. I have a photo from a Winnipeg Free Press CanStar article, which is public record, but I'll table it at the end of my statement if required, that highlights me and the member for Rossmuir sharing a visit with Harry after a particularly tough day. He reminded us that when he ran back in the 1990s against a sitting cabinet minister, not even going to say his name again because he doesn't deserve that much credit, Vic, that is, not Harry, that Harry said it was just one door at a time. He then showed us the photo of the night Gary Dewar held up his hand after the victory party. And the photo captures Harry's lifelong service and his belief that change starts in our own communities. Harry's legacy is one I carry with me every day. More than his professional accomplishments, Harry had a profound personal impact on my life. And personally, Harry always had faith and family top of mind. Irene and Harry were married, and together they built a life grounded in love and faith. Harry was a devoted father to Harold and Angela, and a proud grandfather. His family was his anchor, his joy, and his greatest achievement. Education, as mentioned, was Harry's calling. After graduating from Mennonite Collegiate Institute and Manitoba Teachers College, his love for history and his belief in its lessons led him to teach for 25 years at River East Collegiate. And while some of his colleagues in North Kildonan didn't always believe in his potential to become an elected official in such a historically conservative community, he proved them wrong and worked so hard, even taking on roles at Schools such as the Water Boy for the football team. Even though he wasn't the coach, he just wanted any opportunity to support the students in the school community. He inspired countless students to think critically and care deeply about the world. As mentioned, he also taught at Stony Mountain Penitentiary, which I think speaks volumes to his demonstration and conviction that education could transform lives in any setting. Harry was the founding president of Manitoba Parents for German Education. He helped launch the German bilingual program in 1981, and this groundbreaking work ensured that language and heritage would thrive for future generations. His daughter Angela has actually resurrected that group, and there's a lot of active family members and parents in Northeast Winnipeg that are working to make sure that this legacy stays alive and well. So thank you for all your work, Angela. Thanks to Harry's vision, thousands of students have had that opportunity to learn in both English and German, strengthening the cultural ties and enriching Manitoba's educational landscape. In 1993, as mentioned, Harry brought his dedication to public service into the political arena, winning a by-election to represent Rossmere as the NDP MLA. Though he faced defeat in 1995, he never stopped working and fighting for his community. He was an unpaid MLA technically for those couple years until his resilience carried him back to the legislature in 1999 and again in 2003, serving until 2007. He worked tirelessly for his constituents, always listening and caring. Harry didn't go into politics for fame and power. He did it because he cared. He would frequently shovel the driveways, for example, of seniors in our community when they called his office, just so they didn't have to wait for someone to come from the city and help. He just wanted to show up and help people in our community. His efforts were recognized in 2002 when he received the Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal, a testament to his unwavering commitment to public service. Recently, Harry's family accepted the King Charles III Coronation Medal on his behalf. There was no more deserving recipient than Harry. In retirement, though in my mind Harry never retired, Harry embraced life's simple pleasures, gardening, the Jets and the Bombers, coffee shop conversations, and travel. Harry liked to joke that the only thing that could allow him to miss a constituency meeting was a Jets game or one of his grandchildren's sports matches. He had his priorities in the right place, faith and family. One of his most meaningful journeys in recent years was to Ukraine, where he visited the village of his ancestors, a full circle moment that began generations ago. It was in fact Harry faced his final challenge, an 18-year-long battle with cancer. He faced this challenge with courage and with grace. Even in illness, his spirit remained strong, his faith unwavering. On November 20th, 2024, at the age of 85, Harry died peacefully at home, surrounded by family. But his legacy lives on in classrooms, in communities, and in all the hearts of those who knew him. The mentioned Can Star article also tells the story of how I learned of Harry's passing. After returning home from a particularly long day here at the legislature, I turned my phone off to spend some time with family. I felt so terribly later when I turned it back on and there was a voicemail from Irene. Upon calling her back, I received the heartbreaking news of Harry's passing. She asked me to share the news with our community. I spent the rest of the evening reaching out, calling, emailing, and texting those who needed to know. Early the next morning, I worked with the House Leader to ensure Harry would be honored in the legislature, and our Minister of Education was able to do a statement in the House. I remember allowing myself a few quiet tears while listening to the member for Rossmere's tribute before gathering my composure to deliver my own member's statement. As we reflect on Harry Schellenberg's life, we are reminded that true leadership is not measured by titles or accolades, but by the lives we touch and the hope we inspire. His belief in education, equality, faith, and community has left a legacy that will continue to shape Manitoba for generations to come. Harry showed up for people, for students, for families, for neighbors, and because he did, so many of us learned to show up too. I would not be standing here today without Harry. On behalf of all of you who've had the privilege to know him, Thank you, Harry, for showing us what it means to lead with love, humility, and purpose. May we all carry forward your example of kindness, service, and faith as we continue the work that you began.
Prior to putting the question on the motion, I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery where we have with us today the family of Harry Schellenberg, Harry's wife Irene Schellenberg, and their daughter Angela Schellenberg. Question. The question is that this House convey to the family of the late Harry Schellenberg, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. I'd ask all honourable members to please rise and remain standing to indicate their support for this motion. Thank you. The motion is accordingly passed. As previously announced, we will now consider a condolence motion for Gerard Lecourier, former MLA for Radisson, the honourable member for St. Boniface.
Merci, l'honorable président. Je propose, avec l'appui de la députée de Radisson, que l'Assemblée transmette à la famille du feu Gérard Lequier, qui a été député de l'Assemblée législative du Manitoba, ses sincères condoléances et sa gratitude pour le dévouement dont il a su faire preuve dans son travail au service de sa collectivité et de la population du Manitoba, et que le président fasse parvenir une copie de la présente motion à la famille du défunt.
Been moved by the honourable member for St. Boniface, seconded by the honourable member for Radisson, that this House convey to the family of the late Gerard Lecaille, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in the useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. The floor is now open for speakers. The honourable member for St. Boniface.
Merci, l'honorable président. Aujourd'hui, nous rendons hommage à un grand de la communauté franco-manitobaine et de la province Manitoba, l'honorable Gérard Lequier. Un bâtisseur, un leader, un père de famille, un homme de foi et un exemple pour tout de courage, de détermination et de ténacité. L'honorable président, je tiens à présenter mes sincères condoléances à la famille de Gérard et à ses enfants Michel, Philippe, Nathalie et Denis, ainsi qu'à tous ses petits-enfants, arrière-petits-enfants, frères, sœurs et à toute sa grande famille. Nous pensons à vous. Nous sommes profondément attristés par votre perte et nous vous sommes très reconnaissants d'avoir partagé Gérard avec nous et avec le reste de la population du Manitoba. Gérard faisait partie de ces personnes qui vivent la vie au maximum avec le temps qui leur sont accordés. Il était enseignant, politicien, bâtisseur communautaire, défenseur et mentor, mais avant tout, c'était un homme exceptionnel. Fils d'Albert Lecuyer et Suzanne Delalloy, Gérard vient au monde en 1936 à Saint-Boniface et grandit à Sainte-Agathe dans une famille de 14 enfants. 14 enfants. Imaginez-vous ça aujourd'hui. C'était une maison pleine de vie, de français et de joie de vivre. C'était là que Gérard a appris très tôt ce que signifie l'appartenance, la famille, la culture, la langue, travailler dur, partager et veiller sur l'un l'autre. Il a étudié au Collège de Saint-Boniface et à l'Université du Manitoba, et comme beaucoup d'entre nous, il a œuvré dans plusieurs domaines avant de trouver sa véritable vocation. Il a commencé dans le secteur privé, mais a finalement découvert que l'enseignement était sa véritable passion et vocation. D'ailleurs, une fois en enseignement, il s'y est consacré corps et âme. Il a commencé à enseigner le français à l'école Provencher à Saint-Boniface. C'est là que son amour de l'enseignement a croisé quelque chose d'encore plus grand, son engagement profond à défendre la langue française du Manitoba. Un engagement qui allait devenir le travail d'une vie entière. Gérard croyait que la langue n'était pas seulement des mots, mais aussi une identité, une histoire, un lien et un véhicule pour toute sa culture. Il croyait que tous les jeunes francophones de cette province méritent d'apprendre dans leur propre langue et de reconnaître dans leur salle de classe qui ils sont, d'où ils viennent, et d'avoir le droit de vivre leur culture à fond. Après l'enseignement et après un certain temps au travail de l'Agence canadienne de développement international au Sierra Leone et en Algérie, Gérard revient au berceau. C'est alors que ses convictions inévitables le conduisent à la politique. En 1981, il a été élu député de Radisson et occupe les fonctions de ministre de l'Environnement, de la Sécurité et de la Santé au travail de 1983 jusqu'à 1998. Si vous parlez à quelqu'un qui a travaillé avec Gérard au courant des années, ils vous diront jusqu'à quel point qu'il était un homme déterminé. Il s'est battu avec acharnement pour l'accès, le respect et l'égalité, non seulement pour les francophones du Manitoba, mais aussi pour toutes les communautés qui ont dû se battre pour être vues et entendues. Il n'avait pas peur de la controverse. Il n'avait pas peur de défendre ce qui était juste, même lorsque les batailles n'étaient pas faciles. Cependant, il le faisait avec intégrité, avec un calme fondé dans le respect et une assurance qui incitait les gens à l'écouter, même lorsqu'ils n'étaient pas d'accord avec lui. Lorsque son gouvernement a été défait en 1988, Gérard n'a pas ralenti. Au contraire, il a quitté son île et est parti vers le nord, au Grand Nord, vers le Yukon. C'est là que l'histoire de Gérard prend une autre dimension, aussi étonnante que l'homme en question. Embauché par le gouvernement du Yukon, Gérard aide à mettre en œuvre la loi sur les langues, contribuant ainsi à faire des services en français une réalité dans le territoire du Yukon. Et il l'a fait, comme Gérard savait bien le faire, avec patience, respect et détermination. Au fil des épreuves et des défis, Gérard a établi des ponts entre la communauté franco-yukonaise et le gouvernement territorial. Il a contribué à la création du Bureau de la traduction et de l'interprétation, qui est aujourd'hui la Direction des services en français, une institution qui fonctionne encore aujourd'hui grâce au travail préparatoire qu'il a accompli. Et lorsque le Yukon a entrepris de réviser sa loi sur l'éducation, Gérard a vu une occasion de faire avancer les choses. Il a convaincu le premier ministre de l'époque, Tony Pennicott, d'inclure une clause permettant la création d'un conseil scolaire francophone au Yukon. Cette seule clause a tout changé. Elle a ouvert la voie à l'enseignement français au Yukon et a même influencé plus tard les communautés autochtones à créer leur propre conseil scolaire. C'est ce genre d'impact qu'on reconnaît chez Gérard. Discret, réfléchi et intègre. À son retour au Manitoba en 1990, il est devenu directeur général de la Fédération provinciale des comités de parents du Manitoba et a occupé le poste de directeur général de 90 à 93. J'aimerais aussi noter que pendant ces années, Gérard avait aussi été coprésident du comité organisateur du Rassemblement du siècle, une grande rencontre des anciens du Collège de Saint-Boniface, tenue en 1992, et c'est en leur nom qu'il avait accepté le prix Riel. Et une fois de plus, il s'est remis à lutter pour l'enseignement français, cette fois pour le droit des parents, ici au Manitoba, à gérer leurs propres écoles. Sous cette direction, l'organisme a traversé une période charnière pour l'éducation francophone au Manitoba. C'est durant ce mandat que la FPCP a inauguré le Centre des ressources éducatives à l'enfance, comme on les connaît aujourd'hui, les CRE, mené des consultations avec plus de 1500 parents francophones et présenté une cause devant la Cour suprême du Canada, ce qui a mené à la reconnaissance du droit à la gestion scolaire par et pour les francophones du Manitoba en 1993. Ce combat a abouti à une décision historique de la Cour suprême en 1993 qui a ouvert la voie à la création de la division scolaire franco-manitobaine en 1994. Une division scolaire entière a été créée qui existe encore aujourd'hui parce que des personnes comme Gérard ont refusé d'abandonner. Ont refusé d'abandonner. Au cours de ces années, de ces 88 années d'existence, Gérard a transformé des vies. Il a changé des systèmes, mais plus encore, il a inspiré plusieurs à faire mieux. Il nous a montré par son exemple qu'une seule personne, armée de conviction, de patience et de cœur, peut protéger une langue, façonner une communauté et bâtir une province plus juste. Merci Gérard, on t'aime, tu nous manques. Mais sache que ton travail continue avec nous grâce à toi dans nos foyers, dans nos communautés, dans nos écoles et dans nos cœurs. Merci.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Honourable Speaker, we gather today to pay tribute to a man whose life was devoted to service, to education, to his Francophone community, to his province, and to the values of justice, of fairness, of persistence. We are here to remember Gerard Lequille, teacher, public servant, advocate, and changemaker. Gerard was born on August 2nd, 1936 in St. Agathe, one of 14 children of Albert Lequille and Suzanne Delalloy. Growing up in a large family taught him the value of community, of cooperation, and of speaking up for those whose voices might be quieter. Education was central in his youth. He attended Collège de Saint-Boniface and then the University of Manitoba, laying the groundwork for his life's work. He began his career as an educator in the St. Boniface School Division, but his horizons were broad from the start. Gerard spent years teaching overseas under the auspices of the Canadian International Development Agency in places such as Sierra Leone and Algeria. Those early years abroad were formative, not just in affirming his love for teaching, but in giving him a deep sense of how language, culture, governance, and rights matter. How they matter everywhere,
especially where people are in minority or struggle to have a say. In 1981, Gerard took a major step. He was elected member of the Legislative Assembly for the riding of Radisson under the New Democratic Party. He served 2 terms, re-elected in 1986. During that period, he was appointed Minister of Environment and Workplace Safety and Health in 1993, a role in which he held important responsibility for the well-being of Manitobans. Beyond his ministerial duties, perhaps the most enduring thread in his political life was his passionate advocacy for Francophone rights, particularly French language services and education. He was a leading voice for legal re-entrenchment of French language services in Manitoba. Even after his electoral defeat in 1988, Gerard did not step back. His post-politics career was marked by leadership in the Francophone community, especially in education and parental involvement. In 1990, he became executive director of the Fédération Provinciale des Comités de Parents du Manitoba. Under his leadership, the FPCP pursued a groundbreaking legal case that eventually led to a 1993 Supreme Court decision affirming the rights of Francophone parents under Section 23 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That decision paved the way for the establishment of the Division Scolaire Franco-Manitobaine in 1994, a fully fledged Francophone school division, a milestone in Manitoba's history and a pillar of strength for its Francophone community. Gerard's work was not limited to Manitoba. He lent his voice, guidance, and energy to the Yukon, helping that territory move forward in granting legal recognition and governance rights for French language education, including work towards school governance rights around 1996. Honourable Speaker, we might ask, what made Gerard so effective, so respected, so beloved? Integrity. Many who worked with him remember his moral clarity. He sought what is right, what is just, what is necessary, rather than what was expedient. Tenacity. He wasn't one to give up. Colleagues recall how he traveled community to community, meeting with parents, explaining legal rights, engaging in consultation, pushing through obstacles. Faith in community. He believed deeply in empowering parents, in ensuring that Francophone Manitobans had not just services, but governance, decision-making, control. A bridge builder. His early years abroad, his work in government, his leadership in civil society, Gerard built connections across divides, whether linguistic, geographic, or political. He saw the long term, that for minority language communities to survive and flourish, they need legal rights, institutional structures, and collective voice. The establishments, rulings, and institutions Gerard contributed to are more than accomplishments on paper. They are living parts of Manitoba's identity. Let us reflect on some of what remains. Because of Gerard's work, thousands of Franco-Manitoban children now attend schools where French is a language of instruction, governed by their own division, with their language, culture, and identity honored and integrated. This is both a practical service and a symbol of recognition, of belonging. The legal affirmation of parents' rights under Section 23 is a landmark moment. It established legal precedent, clarified rights, and offered recourse to communities seeking language education. That decision still resonates. Its effects still protect rights today. Gerard's influence extended beyond Manitoba. He supported the establishment of French language services and governance in the Yukon, helping shape policy and legal frameworks. Beyond institutions, Gerard leaves behind people, parents, teachers, activists, who saw him in a model of advocacy, of what can be achieved when one believes in justice and works tirelessly. His example shows that change often takes years, persistence, engagement at many levels, legal, political, social, but that it is possible. We remember Gerard not only for his public achievements, but also for his personal dimensions that grounded him: love of family, love of place, love for his roots. He was predeceased by his beloved wife Irene and daughter Denise. He leaves children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and a large extended family, including his many siblings. Even in his later years, Gerard pursued projects close to his heart: community development, consultation, environment, education. When he could, he walked the Camino de Santiago with his granddaughter, fulfilling a lifelong dream. He found peace and joy at his Albert Beach cottage and solace in the company of family and friends. These personal threads remind us that for all his public service, Gerard was, above all, a man of warmth, of relationships, of connection. Honorable Speaker, as we honor Gerard, there are lessons for all of us. That meaningful change often comes from those who are willing to stay in the fight, even when progress is slow. That protecting minority rights, language rights, cultural rights, requires both institution building and legal recourse. That leadership is not always about headlines. It's about showing up in communities, educating, listening, organizing, advocating. That patience and courage go hand in hand. Courage to speak truth, patience to see justice through, even when the path is obstructed. Today, we pay tribute not simply to what Gerard did, but to who he was: principled, steadfast, compassionate, committed. We remember someone who never lost sight of the idea that every child, every parent, every Francophone in our province deserves dignity, respect, and the means to preserve their language and culture. Today, we honor a man whose legacy is woven into the very fabric of Manitoba, through schools, through rights, through institutions, through lives changed. And so, as we say goodbye, we also say thank you, Gerard, for your labor, your leadership, your love. May we carry forward your work with the same integrity, the same commitment, and may the benefits of your life continue to bloom in our schools, in our communities, in generations to come. Rest in peace, Gerard. Your life was a gift to Manitoba. Your memory will be a blessing. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Brandon East.
Honorable Président, je tiens aussi à présenter mes sincères condoléances à la famille de Gérard ici présent. En tant que ministre responsable des Affaires francophones, je reconnais que le travail de notre gouvernement aujourd'hui ne serait pas possible sans des pionniers et des défenseurs de la langue française comme Gérard. Je peux dire que je me vois un peu, je tiens l'esprit de Gérard, car moi aussi je viens d'un petit village où il fallait défendre ses droits linguistiques, que mon père était fils dans une famille de 14 enfants aussi. Alors peut-être la ténacité à l'heure du souper est allée dans leur propre vie. Et je sais que mon père était épaule à épaule avec Gérard pendant les projets de loi et pendant les batailles dans la Cour suprême. Et que dans mon village, je n'ai pas eu l'occasion de suivre mes cours en français en secondaire, car la DSFM n'était pas là. Et à cause de lui et à cause des gens qui l'ont supporté, nous avons cette école présentement dans mon village. Et d'ailleurs, sans Gérard, cette division scolaire, l'étendue à l'échelle de toute la province du Manitoba, n'aurait peut-être jamais vu le jour. Imaginez aller à communauté et peut-être à ces jours dire que nous allons construire une école à Brandon de la DSFM et potentiellement à Niverville. C'est incroyable. Et d'après Gilbert Savard et Raymond Poirier, les deux s'accordent pour dire que de Gérard Lécuyer qu'il était un homme de tenace et intègre. Et selon Raymond Poirier, c'était un gars qui avait un sens aigu de la justice sociale. Certains disaient qu'il était têtu, mais c'était bon d'avoir quelqu'un qui ne flanchait pas facilement. C'était le genre de personne qui allait au bout des choses. On ne l'amenait pas facilement à les faire des compromis. Même après toutes ces grandes victoires au Manitoba, Gérard n'avait pas tout à fait fini de faire avancer les choses. Il est retourné au Yukon une deuxième fois pour aider à créer officiellement la Commission scolaire francophone du Yukon en 1996. Non pour l'aventure, la gloire, la salaire ou la reconnaissance, il y est allé parce qu'il se souciait à la cause du français au Yukon. D'après Mme Baudouin, elle-même grand défenseur des droits des francophones du Yukon et agent de liaison pour l'Association franco-yukoniaise, il arrivait une bonne expérience de son passage au gouvernement du Manitoba. C'était un ardent défenseur des droits des francophones. Il y avait de la rigueur et de l'intelligence dans ce qu'il faisait. Et lorsqu'il est facilement revenu s'installer définitivement au Manitoba, il a continué à travailler comme consultant dans les domaines de l'éducation, de l'environnement et du développement communautaire. Toujours généreux, toujours rassembleur, toujours constructif. À l'âge de 79 ans, il a même la chance de réaliser un rêve de longue date. Marcher le chemin de Compostelle avec sa petite-fille Pascale. Avec sa famille et ses amis, c'est au chalet à Plage Albert où il a passé de nombreux étés en nature, proche de ceux qu'il aimait, où il était heureux. Après la perte de sa femme Irène, le chalet est devenu pour lui un havre de paix, un lieu où il pouvait réfléchir, guérir et rire à nouveau. Les personnes qui ont connu Gérard parlent de sa gentillesse, mais aussi de sa vision très claire de la justice. Il avait cette clarté morale tranquille, celle qui n'a pas besoin de faire trop de bruit. Il croyait fermement en l'équité, à l'égalité et à sa communauté franco-manitobaine qu'il aimait de tout son cœur. Je peux seulement imaginer quels mots il aurait partagés pendant la consultation publique pour rendre la province véritablement bilingue. C'est certain qu'il aurait des conseils. Il pouvait s'asseoir en face d'une personne ayant des opinions ou des convictions politiques complètement différentes des siennes et lui donner le sentiment d'être respecté parce qu'il avait le don de l'écoute, de la patience et parce qu'il souciait les autres. À sa famille, sachez que Gérard a laissé une empreinte bien au-delà de ce palais législatif, bien au-delà de cette province. Son travail a renforcé l'éducation francophone partout au Canada. Son influence est présente dans les salles de classe, les politiques et les communautés, de Saint-Boniface à Whitehorse. Et à ceux d'entre nous qui suivent ses traces, que ce soit en politique, dans l'enseignement ou dans le travail communautaire, Gérard nous rappelle que ce signifie vraiment servir. Il ne s'agit pas simplement d'éloge ou de reconnaissance. Il s'agit de retrousser les manches et de faire le travail. Il s'agit de croire au potentiel des autres, de rassembler, d'être présent de façon consistante parce que c'est important. Aujourd'hui, nous ne nous contentons pas de pleurer la disparition de Gérard, nous célébrons sa vie. Nous célébrons son courage, son humour, sa chaleur et son incroyable conviction que l'éducation et la langue ont le pouvoir de rassembler les gens. Merci Gérard pour tout ce que tu as fait. Merci pour ton courage, ta persévérance et ta foi dans les gens. Repose en paix, Gérard. Tu nous manqueras, mais ton héritage perdurera quand, dans chaque élève qui apprend le français, dans chaque enseignant qui porte le flambeau et dans chaque Manitobain qui croit que nos différences ne sont pas un facteur de division, mais plutôt une source de fierté. Merci.
Prior to putting the question on the condolence motion, I'd like to draw members' attention to the public gallery where we have family of the member Gerard Lacaille, Michelle Lacaille Hutton, David Hutton, Pascal Hutton, Philippe Lacaille, Natalie Lacaille, Colin Oasis, George Lacaille, Darlene Lacaille, Joseph Lacaille, Yvette Lacaille, Rita Lacaille, Mark Lacaille, Pauline Labossiere, Linda Kubinek, and Gary Kubinek. We welcome you here today. The question is that this House convey to the family of the late Gerard Lacaille, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty and in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of the resolution to the family. And again, I would ask members to please rise and remain standing to indicate their support. Thank you. The motion is accordingly passed. Now we will consider a condolence motion for Harold Dreger, former member for Nikawa. The honourable member for Seine River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the MLA for Tyndall Park, that this House convey to the family of the late Harold Dreger, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family.
It's been moved by the honourable member for Seine River, seconded by the honourable member for Tyndall Park, that this House convey to the family of the late Gerard Dreger, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. The floor is now open for speakers. The honourable member for Seine River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today on behalf of the Government Caucus to pay tribute to a remarkable Manitoban, the late Harold Dreger. Before I begin, I want to extend my deepest condolences to Harold's family, to his daughters Laurie and Michelle, to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, to his sister Melita, to his loving partner June Harris, and to all their extended families. We are thinking of you. We are sorry for your loss, and we are so grateful that you shared Harold with all of us, his students, his colleagues, and the people of Manitoba. Harold Dreger was one of those rare individuals who seemed to live many lives in one lifetime. He was a teacher, a public servant, a musician, a mentor, and a friend to so many. But above all else, he was a man guided by purpose, by the quiet belief that we are all here to make the world a little kinder, a little wiser, and a little better. He was born in Grenthal, Manitoba, the eldest child of his family. The Dreger family was well known in town, running the Rainbow Inn, later Lou's Restaurant, along with a service station and bulk oil dealership. This was a hub of community life, a place where people gathered, laughed, and shared stories. It was there, in that small town atmosphere, that Harold learned what hard work meant, but also what it meant to serve others. That spirit of pitching in where you could, of helping neighbors, and showing kindness never left him. Harold was a lifelong teacher. Books fascinated him. The world fascinated him. So when it came time to choose a career, he chose teaching, because teaching meant shaping lives. He attended Teachers College, then earned his Bachelor of Arts in Education from United College, and later a Master of Arts in Geography from the University of Manitoba. He went on to teach geography and social studies in the Winnipeg School Division for 30 years at Sisler High, Gordon Bell, and General Wolfe. For 3 decades, Harold filled classrooms with joy, curiosity, and laughter. He believed in giving young people the tools to think for themselves, to question, to explore, and to see the world not as something distant, but as something that they were a part of. If you talk to his former students, they'll tell you, Mr. Dreger made you feel seen. He encouraged you when you didn't believe in yourself. He turned ordinary lessons into moments of discovery. And that, Honorable Speaker, is the mark of a great teacher, one whose lessons live long after the bells ring. Harold's commitment to others didn't just stop at the classroom door. He believed deeply in public service, in using his voice to make a difference. In 1988, Harold was elected as a member of the Legislative Assembly for Niagara, a constituency that later became known as Seine River. He brought fairness, thoughtfulness, and open-mindedness, the same things that defined his teaching career. Harold believed in civil debate, in listening to people with different perspectives and finding common ground. He often said that good governance is a lot like good teaching. You don't succeed by talking the loudest. You succeed by helping people understand one another. After leaving office, Harold continued to serve in ways that improved the lives of others. He worked with the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer and with the George and Fay Yee Centre for Healthcare Innovation, helping improve how patients experienced care. To Harold, compassion wasn't just a word in healthcare, it was a daily practice. He was also an active member of the Association of Former Manitoba MLAs, always promoting respectful dialogue and civic engagement. He believed that disagreement didn't have to mean division, that we could debate fiercely and still treat each other with dignity and respect. That was his quiet moral compass, and it guided everything he did. Now, if teaching and public service was Harold's callings, then music was his heartbeat. From singing in school and church choirs to performing in musical theater in Winnipeg, music was woven throughout his life. In 1995, he joined the Winnipeg Golden Chordsmen, later known as River City Sound, and found his true musical home in barbershop harmony. He sang bass with the quartet Harlequin, alongside Rob Smith, Larry Hunter, and Paul Bullock. Together, they shared laughter, harmony, and friendship for more than 25 years, performing at shows, competitions, and celebrations across Manitoba. They even marked their 25th anniversary concert in 2023, surrounded by family and friends, still singing and still smiling. That's who Harold was, even in later years, still finding joy in song, still sharing it generously. My understanding is he enjoyed the simple pleasures in life, a round of golf, a day on the water, a quiet evening with family. He also had an adventurous streak, traveling to Spain, Kenya, Alaska, Russia, and Australia. Makes sense that he was a geography teacher. But no matter where he went, he carried his roots with him. That grounded sense of gratitude that comes from growing up in a small Manitoba town. Harold was immensely proud of his daughters, Lori and Michelle, and loved deeply by his grandchildren. They knew him as Bappa. Bappa was the steady, gentle voice at the heart of every family gathering. To Harold's family, please know that his legacy reaches far beyond your circle. His teaching shaped minds, his public service shaped communities, and his music lifted spirits across this province. Those of us who serve here today can learn much from Harold Dreger. We can learn that respect is not weakness, that compromise is not failure, and that service is not about recognition, it's about responsibility. He showed that you can lead with both conviction and kindness, that you can take your work seriously without ever taking yourself too seriously, and that when you listen, truly listen, you can build bridges where others see walls. Harold's life reminds us that public service, at its best, is an act of generosity. Whether in the classroom, in this chamber, or on a stage, he gave himself fully to whatever he did. Today, we don't just mourn his passing, we celebrate a life well lived, a life that educated, inspired, and connected, a life that proved one person, guided by heart and principle, can make an extraordinary difference. So to Harold, thank you. Thank you for your decades of service, for your songs, your stories, your laughter, and most of all, the example that you set. Thank you for showing us that grace and decency never go out of style. Rest in peace, Harold Dreger. You will be missed, but your voice, your values, and your spirit will live on in every student you taught, every colleague you inspired, and every Manitoban who believes that kindness and service still matter.
The honourable member for Turtle Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'm honoured here to represent the opposition party here on the condolences of Harold Dreger, and my condolences go out to the family of Harold and the commitment that he made to this legislature and the work that he did. On my condolences, and I want to thank you for the time that you guys had to give up for him to be here, and really appreciate that. Harold was born on March 28, 1942, and raised in Grenville, Manitoba. Attended Teachers College, Bachelor of Arts in Education, and at University College, and the Masters of Arts and Geography at the University of Manitoba. He taught Geography and Social Studies in Sisler High School, Gordon Bell High School, and General Wolfe School for 30 years, from 1970 to 2000. He was elected as a Liberal for Niagara constituency in 1988's election, and that's, I believe, is the year that there was other 20 more Liberal MLAs in that time. 19. Okay, so the other thing is Harold Dreger was a man whose life was defined in dedication to his family, to education, to public service, and to our community. Harold's passion was learning to lead him to pursue both bachelor's and the master's of arts degree, after which he embarked in a distinguished 30-year career as a teacher in the Winnipeg No. 1 School Division from 1970 to 2000, and he taught geography and social studies, again, at those schools, and inspiring generations of students with love of knowledge and his commitment to education. In 1988, Harold was elected as a Liberal member of the Legislative Assembly for Niagara, later known as Seine River. Defeating and sitting cabinet minister during the landmark election, he saw his party rise from 1 to 20 seats. His time in the chamber reflected his deep belief in the value of civic participation in public service. In retirement, Harold remained active and engaged, contributing to his time and energy to the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer and the George and Fay Yee Center for Healthcare Innovation Strategies and Patient-Oriented Research in Primary Healthcare. Though these roles, he worked to improve the patient experiences within the healthcare system. He also was an active member of the Association of Former Manitoba members of the Legislative Assembly. And I remember as a deputy, I actually host one of the committees because the speaker couldn't make it when I was deputy speaker, and I had a chance to meet Harold when we had a luncheon, when we have those general luncheons. Again, he was profound civic dialogue, believing in the importance of reflecting different viewpoints rather than dismissing them. Alongside his love of books, music held a special place in Harold's life. He sang in choirs and musical productions. In 1995, he joined the Winnipeg Golden Chordsmen's Barbershop Quartet, later known as the River City Sound. He also enjoyed performing with various quartets, but found joy singing with Rob Smith, Larry Hunter, and Paul Bullock as part of Harlequin. Together, they celebrated 25 years of music on September 23rd, with a special concert for family and friends. Harold's enthusiasm and passion left a lasting impression on those around him and Manitobans. Furthermore, Honorable Harold Dreger pursued a wide range of personal passions. He was an avid golfer, a keen sailor, and possessed an adventurous spirit with a profound love of travel. And of course, my colleague from St. River explained all the different countries that he went to, which was amazing. Again, he made a significant contribution to the provinces through his dedication service as a member of the Legislative Assembly, where he worked tirelessly to advance a good public good and strengthen communities across the province. Harold Dreger's life was one of service, learning, music, and love. He touched the lives of students, colleagues, constituents, and community members alike, and his contributions will long be remembered. On behalf of this House, I extend my deepest condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones. May they find comfort in the legacy he leaves behind and his knowledge and the life made Manitoba a better place. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Tyndall Park.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise this afternoon to speak in tribute of Harold Dreger, who passed away in October 2024. To his partner, June Harris, his daughters, Michelle and Lori Dreger, his granddaughters, Vanessa Morrison, Sydney and Aiden Dreger, his stepdaughter, Andrea Leader, his sister, Melita, and her family, Dave and John Inns, who have all joined us here today. And to all of his loving family, I extend my heartfelt condolences. Honorable Speaker, due no doubt to the entrepreneurial spirit of his parents, Harold was deeply committed to public service with a strong desire to advance the common good. In 1988, he ran and won as a Manitoba Liberal in the constituency of Niagara under the leadership of Sharon Carstairs. It was an important provincial election, and he sat in the official opposition benches for the next 2 years. Harold worked alongside my father, Kevin Lamoureux, when he was the MLA for Inkster, as well as my friend Harold Taylor, who has joined us here today in the loges as the MLA for Wolseley. Interestingly, he served opposite his cousin, Albert Dreger, who served as Minister of Government Services and Minister of Highways and Transportation, which I'm sure got very interesting at times. And like many of us here, he found for the most part the experience being an MLA very enriching. His first wife, Lorraine Dreger, who passed away in 2014, was Red River Métis, and their children are proud citizens within the Red River, or within Manitoba Métis Federation. He is remembered as a true gentleman and a true leader in advancing Indigenous language revitalization. Now, Honorable Speaker, ahead of his time, he sought funding for improving the lives of rural Indigenous communities and helping to define and develop self-governing institutions for Indigenous people in areas of child and family services, economic development, education, and more. He really worked towards advancing connection to ancestry with one's own heritage and spirituality. In 1988, he introduced a private member's resolution relating to long-standing issues that did not favor the Port of Churchill for shipping grain, barley, and other crops and goods through the port. This was to get the province to lobby the government for guaranteed allotments of the grain to be shipped overseas through Churchill from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and northwestern Ontario, instead of using ports of Vancouver and the St. Lawrence, who had similar guarantees. The port was originally conceived as a great nation-building enterprise, a more direct route to Europe, and a strategic gateway for Canada's claim to the Arctic. And it was felt that the federal government was failing it, and therefore failing Manitoba and its citizens. After discussion, modifications, and amendments, it was voted on and passed, which we all know is a very difficult task to do when you're in opposition. And today, after many years of lobbying, upheaval, closures, and hope, we are finally realizing the value of the port and what it means to have our province's economy. Again, Harold was way ahead of his time. Honorable Speaker, Harold worked hard as critic for Northern and Indigenous Affairs and for Natural Resources, and chaired, among others, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts during his time in office. He worked so hard for his constituents and for the people of Manitoba. After leaving politics, he became part of the Association of Former Manitoba Members of the Legislative Assembly, and through their activities worked to improve civil society discourse through respect for ideas and not derision when engaging with someone holding different views, something my colleagues before me have discussed as well. It's a beautiful reputation to have. And before politics, Honorable Speaker, in public life, Harold worked as a teacher, teaching geography and social studies at Sisler High School, the high school that I actually went to, Honorable Speaker, and I know at least one of my other colleagues here in the House attended as well. He also taught at Gordon Bell and at General Wolfe School. He directed many school musicals during his tenure and is quite known for them. In addition to his love of travel, golfing, reading, and sailing, singing was most joyful for him. He sang in churches, choirs, musical productions, and barbershop choruses. Singing truly was his passion. And in 1995, he joined the Winnipeg Golden Chordsman Barbershop Chorus, which was later renamed River City Sound when women joined their voices to the group. One of the women who joined was June's daughter, Andrea. One specific quartet called Harlequin were together for 25 years. They competed internationally and earned the title of Quartet of the Year 18 times. And in September of 2023, they celebrated with a special concert they performed for friends and family. His legacy, passion, and true talent inspired many others to join the chorus over the years. Honorable Speaker, Harold was also a member of the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer Corporation, Canadian Prostate Cancer Network, and the Manitoba Prostate Cancer Network, where he sat on the executive committee as the Director of Political Action. Such networks do the important work of providing support and raising awareness for the patients and their families with cancer diagnosis. He understood firsthand the need to support and improve patients' journeys through the healthcare system. In closing, Honorable Speaker, Harold's family, passion towards public service, joy in life, caring, and drive gave him a full life, positively affecting others while helping them and inspiring them all along the way. A strong legacy that we can all strive to have. Thank you.
Prior to putting the question on the condolence motion, I draw members' attention to the public gallery where the family of Harold Dreger is. His daughter, Lori Dreger, and Michelle Dreger, grandchildren, Sydney Dreger, Aidan Dreger and Vanessa Dreger Morrison, wife June Harris, sister Melita Ennis, and her husband, Harold's son-in-law, Dave Ennis, and their son, nephew to Harold, John Ennis. Welcome. So the question before the House is that this House convey to the family of the late Harold Dreger, who served as a member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, its sincere sympathy in their bereavement and its appreciation of his devotion to duty in a useful life of active community and public service, and that the Speaker be requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the family. And I would ask members to please rise and remain standing to indicate their support for the motion. Thank you. The motion is accordingly passed, and now we will go to petitions. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. Number one, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Number two, there are two people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number three, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from this citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. The Winnipeg Police Services, WPS, investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standard and recommended charges be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. The family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and the decision to not prosecute to be reviewed independently. As recently as 2022, there is precedent for criminal files of decisions to not prosecute not to proceed with prosecutions to extra-provincial departments for justice for review. This was done in the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision to not prosecute, and charges were laid. Number 7, an out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and Manitobans. Number 8, the family has exhausted every avenue within the existing system and, in the absence of prescribed process, when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. Number 9, in December of 2024, Winnipeg Police Service reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the holiday check stop program, and extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. Manitoba deserves to have the confidence in the provincial government and the justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. Honourable Speaker, this petition was signed by Carly Melville, Madeline Melville, Kirk Melville, and many, many other fine Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for Portage La Prairie.
Thank you so much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition. The background of this petition is as follows. On May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Number 2, there are 2 people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number 3, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from the citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. Number 4, the Winnipeg Police Service investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standard and recommended charges to be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. Number 5, the family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. Number 6, as recent as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecution to extra-provincial departments of justice for review. That was done with the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision to not prosecute, and charges were laid. Number 7, an out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and by Manitobans. Number 8, the family has exhausted every avenue within the existing systems and, in the absence of a prescribed process when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. Number 9, in December 2024, the WPS reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the holiday check stop program, extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in an overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. Number 10, Manitobans deserve to have confidence in the provincial government and justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. This is signed by Elsie Serpa, Chad Baxter, Andrew Ronald, and many, many more Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. These are the reasons for this petition. Number one, upgrading Provincial Trunk Highway 45 will accelerate economic development as it will enhance connectivity, facilitate efficient transportation, and promote economic growth in the region. Number two, economic development will be further enhanced as improved road infrastructure attracts businesses, encourages investment, and creates job opportunities. Number three, roads. Meeting the Roads and Transportation Association of Canada RTAC standards improve both safety and efficiency, as they can handle heavier loads, reducing the number of trips required for goods transportation. Number four, safer roads further benefit both commuters and commercial vehicles, minimizing accidents and damage. Number five, upgrading to RTAC standards ensures resilience to challenges caused by climate change, such as thawing and flooding, which negatively impact road conditions. Number six, efficient transportation networks contribute to Manitoba's economic competitiveness as upgraded roads support interprovincial and international goods movement, benefiting both trade and commerce. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure to take the necessary steps to upgrade Provincial Trunk Highway 45 from Russell to Provincial Trunk Highway 10 to meet RTAC standards. This petition is signed by Doug Cook, Kim Bendon, Johnny Cook, and many, many other Manitobans. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Turtle Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background of this petition is as follows. Number one, ensuring that teachers have a robust background in the subject they teach is essential for maintaining high-quality education and fostering well-rounded learning experiences for all Manitoban students. Number two, the recent amendments to the Province of Manitoba Teaching Certificates and Qualification Regulations under the Education Administration Act have significantly lowered the standards for subject area expertise required by teacher certification. Number three, these amendments eliminate all subject area requirements for teachers certification, including major and minor teachable subjects and subject-specific requirements for early middle years streams. Number four, specifically, the amendment removed the senior year's credit requirements in an approved teachable major and minor, early middle years credit requirements in the approved teachable major and minor, and early middle year credit requirements for specific subjects including math, physics or biology, science, English or French, or history or geography. Number 5, the key stakeholders such as parents, post-secondary educators outside the facility of education, and the business partners were not consulted about the changes. Number 6, the removal of subject-specific requirements undermines the educational quality of Manitoba schools by permitting teachers to enter the classroom without sufficient training in core academic areas, thereby compromising the education that Manitoba students receive. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. Number 1, to urge the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning to reserve recent amendments to the teaching certificates and qualification regulations that weaken subject areas required for teacher certification, and to reinstate teachable majors and minors and early middle years requirements, which are essential for ensuring teachers have strong knowledge in core subject areas. Number 2, to urge the provincial government to address teacher shortages through alternative measures that uphold rigorous subject area standards, which are critical for providing quality education to all Manitoba students. This has been signed by Daryl Burmish, Glenn Verkine, Scott Sambrook, and many other Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for Steinbach.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition to the Manitoba Legislative Assembly. The background to this petition is as follows. 1. Thanks to the investment made under the previous PC provincial government as part of the Clinical and Preventative Services Plan, construction for the new Portage Regional Health Facility is well underway. The facility and surrounding community would greatly benefit from added diagnostic machinery and equipment, but specifically the addition of an MRI machine. 2, an MRI machine is a non-invasive medical imaging technique that uses a magnetic field and computer-generated radio waves to create detailed images of organs and tissues in the human body. It is used for disease detection, diagnosis, and treatment monitoring. 3, Portage Prairie is centrally located in Manitoba and is on the #1 highway in the Southern Health Santé Sud Health Authority. Currently, there is only one MRI machine in the RHA. 4, an MRI machine located in the Portage Regional Health Facility will reduce transportation costs for patients as well as reduce the burden on stretcher service and ambulance use. It will bring care closer to home and reduce wait times for MRI scans across the province. 5, located around Portage Prairie are the Dakota TB, Dakota Plains, Sandy Bay, and Long Plains First Nation reserves. Indigenous peoples in Canada disproportionately face barriers in access to services and medical care. An MRI machine located in the Portage Regional Health Facility will bring care closer to their home communities and provide greater access to diagnostic testing. 6, located in close proximity to the new Portage Regional Health Facility is the Southport Airport. This aerodrome has a runway length that is more than adequate to support medical air ambulance services. This would provide the opportunity to transport patients by air from more remote communities to access MRI imaging services. 7, the average wait times for Manitobans to receive an MRI scan is currently 6 to 8 months. Having an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility will help reduce these wait times for patients and provide better care sooner. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to support the investment and placement of an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. And Honorable Deputy Speaker, this petition is signed by Jim Carfoot, Patricia Hall, K.O. Black, and many other fine Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I wish to present the following petition.
Selkirk.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. We'll try that again. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, I wish to present the following petition. The background to this petition is as follows. Number one, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Number two, there are two people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number three, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired.
Order.
The accomplice.
We just request that the member get a headset, and we will return to you at that point to present your petition. So I will call on the member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. 1. The residents of La Vérendrye and other areas around Manitoba are extremely frustrated and concerned by the provincial government's decision to cancel the school expansion project for Green Valley School in Grunthal. 2. In 2021, the PC provincial government committed funding to expand Green Valley School for a new gymnasium and classrooms. 3. The school is so overcrowded that 3 mobile classrooms were added to alleviate overcrowding in classrooms. 4. In order for construction to begin, the school removed all 3 portable classrooms, leaving Green Valley in a further critical state of overcrowding. 5. As a result of overcrowding, parents are choosing to homeschool their children due to safety concerns and the challenges associated with overcrowding. Six, the current Premier of Manitoba and the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning have said they are committed to investing in education. 7, the concerns of residents of La Vérendrye and the surrounding area are being ignored by the provincial government. 8, the lack of space in the school is affecting quality of education and extracurricular activities for students. 9, the Minister and Premier have a duty to respond to the educational needs of children and youth identified by rural communities. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. 1, to urge the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning to immediately bring back the 3 portable classrooms to help alleviate the stress and overcrowding classrooms. 2, to urge the provincial government to reinstate the expansion project for Green Valley School. This petition has been signed by Tristan Penner, Catherine Robertson, Rob Ruley, and many, many other Manitobans.
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, the background to this petition is as follows. 1, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. 2, there are 2 people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. 3, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from this citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. 4, the Winnipeg Police Services, WPS, investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standard and recommended charges be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. 5, the family of Jordan Reimer was called for the prosecution of the accomplice, has called for the prosecution of the accomplice, and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. 6, as recently as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecution to extra provincial departments of justice for review. This was done, the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision to not prosecute, and charges were laid. 7, an out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and by Manitobans. 8, the family has exhausted every avenue within the existing system, and in the absence of a prescribed process, when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. 9, in December 2024, the WPS reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the holiday check stop program, extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. 10, Manitobans deserve to have confidence in the provincial government and justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. This petition has been signed by Allison Rostek, Adam Jackson, Tammy Jackson, and many, many other fine Manitobans.
The honourable member for Selkirk. You'll have to unmute yourself. The honourable member for Selkirk.
Okay, fourth try, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we're good to go. I wish to present to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba the following petition. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, the background to this petition is as follows. Number 1, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Number 2, there are 2 people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number 3, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from the citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. Number 4, the Winnipeg Police Services, WPS, investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standard and recommended charges be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. Number 5, the family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. Number 6, as recently as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecution to extra-provincial departments of justice for review. This was done with the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision to not prosecute, and charges were laid. Number 7, an out-of-province review is supported by Mothers Against Drunk Driving Canada, Mothers Against Drunk Driving Manitoba, and by Manitobans. Number 8, the family has exhausted every avenue within the existing system, and in the absence of a prescribed process when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. Number 9, in December of 2024, the Winnipeg Police Service reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the Holiday Check Stop program, extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. Number 10, Manitobans deserve to have confidence in the provincial government and justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. Honorable Deputy Speaker, this petition has been signed by Jane McLatchie, Mitch Bowden, Frank Clausen, and many, many more Manitobans. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. Number 1, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Number 2, there are 2 people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number 3, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from the citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. Number 4, the Winnipeg Police Services, WPS, investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standard and recommended charges to be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. Number 5, the family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. Number 6, as recently as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecutions to extra provincial departments of justice for review. This was done with the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision to not prosecute, and charges were laid. Number 7, an out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and by Manitobans. Number 8, the family has exhausted every avenue within the system, within the existing system, and in the absence of a prescribed process, when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. Number 9, in December 2024, the WPS reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the Holiday Check Stop program, extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. Number 10, Manitoba deserves to have confidence in the provincial government and justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order, to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. Honorable Deputy Speaker, this petition was signed by many Manitobans, such as Tara Perchaluk, Jenilyn Rambilo, and Kasaya Luther Ruban, and many other Manitobans.
The honourable member for Lakeside.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background of this petition is as follows. Number 1, thanks to the investment made under the previous PC provincial government as part of the Clinical and Preventative Services Plan, construction for a new Portage Regional Health Facility is well underway. The facility and surrounding community would greatly benefit from added diagnostic machinery and equipment, but specifically the addition of an MRI machine. Number 2, an MRI machine is a non-invasive medical imaging technique that uses a magnetic field and computer-generated radio waves to create detailed images of organs and tissues in the human body. It is used for disease detection, diagnosis, and treatment monitoring. Number 3, Portage la Prairie is centrally located in Manitoba and is on the #1 highway in the Southern Health Authority. Currently, there is only one MRI machine in the RHA. Number 4, An MRI machine located in the Portage Regional Health Facility will reduce transportation costs for patients, as well as reduce the burden on stretcher service and ambulance use. It will bring care closer to home and reduce wait times for MRI scans across the province. Number 5, located around Portage La Prairie are the Dakota Teepee, Dakota Plains, Sandy Bay, and the Long Plains First Nations reserves. Excuse me. Indigenous peoples in Canada disproportionately face barriers in access to services and medical care. An MRI machine located in the Portage Regional Health Authority health facility will bring care closer to their home communities and provide greater access to diagnostic testing. Number 6, located in close proximity to the new Portage Regional Health Facility is the Southport Airport. This aerodrome has a runway length that is more than adequate to support medical air ambulance services. This would provide the opportunity to transport patients by air from more remote communities to access MRI imaging services. Number 7, the average wait times for Manitobans to receive an MRI scan is currently 6 to 8 months. Having an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility will help reduce these wait times for patients and provide better care sooner. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to support the investment and placement of an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. This petition has been signed by Ashley Hewins, Marissa Rogers, Laura Lee Morton, and many, many Manitobans. Thank you.
The honourable member for Lac du Bonnet.
Thank you and good afternoon, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly, and the background to this petition is as follows. Number 1, ensuring that teachers have a robust background in the subjects they teach is essential for maintaining high-quality education and fostering well-rounded learning experiences for all Manitoba students. Number 2, the recent amendments by the province of Manitoba to the teaching certificates and qualifications regulation under the Education Administration Act have significantly lowered the standards for subject area expertise required for teacher certification. Number 3, these amendments eliminated all subject area requirements for teacher certification, including major and minor schedule subjects and subject-specific requirements for early middle years streams. Number 4, specifically, the amendments removed bullet point, senior years credit requirements in an approved teachable major and minor. Second bullet point, early middle years credit requirements in an approved teachable major and minor. And third bullet point, early middle years credit requirements for specific subjects, including math, physical or biological science, English or French, and history and or geography. Number 5, key stakeholders such as parents, post-secondary educators outside the faculties of education, and business partners were not consulted about the changes. Number 6, the removal of subject-specific requirements undermines the educational quality in Manitoba schools by permitting teachers to enter the classroom without sufficient training in core academic areas, thereby compromising the education that Manitoba students receive. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. Number one, to urge the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning to reverse recent amendments to the Teaching Certificates and Qualifications Regulation that weaken subject area requirements for teacher certification, and to reinstate teachable majors and minors and early middle years requirements, which are essential for ensuring teachers have strong knowledge to core subject areas. Number two, to urge the provincial government to address teacher shortages through alternative measures that uphold rigorous subject area standards, which are critical for providing quality education to all Manitoba students. Honorable Deputy Speaker, this petition is signed by Terry Nipyuk, Marilyn Ruda, Tim Staska, and many, many more fine Manitobans.
The honourable member for Morden Winkler.
Yay! Morden or Winkler?
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background of this petition is as follows. Number one, on May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 20 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. Two, there are two people legally culpable for her death: the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. Number three, a concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from the citizen under false pretenses and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. Number four, the Winnipeg Police Service investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standards and recommended charges be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutor declined to prosecute the accomplice. Number five, the family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. Number six, as recently as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecution to extra-provincial departments of justice for review. This was done with the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a reversal in the decision not to prosecute to charges that were laid. Number seven, an out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and by Manitobans. Number eight, the family has exhausted every avenue within the existing system, and in the absence of a prescribed process when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. Number nine, in December 2024, the Winnipeg Police Service reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the holiday check stop program. Extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. 10. Manitobans deserve to have confidence in the provincial government and justice systems to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. To urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. This petition has been signed by Peter Entz, Eric Castleland, Lynn Follis-Kurtz, and many, many other Manitobans.
The honourable member for Dawson Trail.
I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. On May 1st, 2022, Jordan Reimer, 24 years of age, was killed by an impaired driver while she was acting as a designated driver. There are two people legally culpable for her death, the impaired driver and the accomplice. The driver was charged, but the second criminal, the accomplice, has not been held accountable. A concerned citizen took the keys from the impaired driver earlier in the evening to ensure he could not drive impaired. The accomplice retrieved the keys from this citizen under false pretense and knowingly provided the impaired driver with access to the vehicle. The Winnipeg Police Service, WPS, investigation provided adequate evidence to meet the charging standards and recommended charges be laid against the accomplice. The Crown prosecutors declined to prosecute the accomplice. The family of Jordan Reimer has called for the prosecution of the accomplice and that the decision to not prosecute be reviewed independently. As recently as 2022, there is precedent to refer criminal files of decisions to not proceed with prosecution to extra-provincial departments of justice for review. This was done with the Peter Nygaard file, which ultimately led to a out-of-province review. An out-of-province review is supported by MAD Canada, MAD Manitoba, and by Manitobans. The family has exhausted every avenue within the existing system, and in the absence of a prescribed process, when a disagreement exists on charging standards, the only option is to request an independent out-of-province review. In December 2024, the Winnipeg Police reported an alarming number of impaired drivers in the Holiday Check Stop program, extending criminal culpability beyond the driver to those who engage in overt actions to facilitate impaired driving will save lives. Manitobans deserve to have confidence in the provincial government and justice system to make decisions that achieve true justice for victims and their families. We petition the Legislative Assembly as Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to order an out-of-province review of the prosecutor's decision to not prosecute the accomplice in the death of Jordan Reimer. This petition has been signed by many Manitobans.
The honourable member for Agassiz.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. Number one, all Manitobans deserve to feel safe in their homes and communities. Number two, throughout Manitoba, rural communities are seeing dramatic increases in criminal activities targeting individuals and property, which has eroded their sense of safety. Number three, though communities pay taxes for RCMP coverage, many have lost local policing as RCMP detachments consolidate. This situation is unacceptable to communities who expect a level of service and police protection. Number 4, the lack of community policing has led to many Manitobans losing faith in the rule of law and the availability of emergency services when they are needed. Number 5, the provincial government has a responsibility to act and ensure that communities receive adequate service and coverage from police resources. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to immediately work with the RCMP to restore
Order, please. The hour being 5 p.m., as the member has not completed reading their petition, it is not deemed to have been received by the House, and the member will need to present it again at a future sitting of the House. Order. The hour being 5 p.m., this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until Monday, October 27th at 1:30 p.m.